Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Shufflebus. Pretty quiet room tonight, for a change. We've been really having really great streams the last month or so, ever since AshCon, basically. And
yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like,
absolutely,
AshCon was big hype, and
yeah. But I do think that like Twitch stats are always a little messed up on OBS. They never tell you exactly what your actual viewers are.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. So obviously it is what it is. We've got no live games tonight, but we did get a couple of pre-recorded games that users were willing to share with us. So these are always a little interesting because it's hard for us. Like a lot of times what I try to do is when we're talking about a card in our live streams, where we're actually live streaming a game, I try to like hover over that card so that new users can see that. I don't have any control over that in this scenario.
You can't look at the zones when you want to look at them, and having one-sided hand cams makes the analysis a little one-sided also.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it does. So it's not perfect, but I'm appreciative that German and Chaostheory and Waves were willing to share, and Asterix.
It's definitely better than not having games to
absolutely
commentate. So
yeah. So we're gonna jump in here and get started because we've got two games. One of them isn't super long. I haven't seen the other one. I think I know the outcome of the German Asterix game because I think I caught the tail end of it as a spectator, but I honestly don't remember. Like it's been a week, man. So I'm pretty sure I saw the end of this, and probably what'll happen is in the middle of it, it'll jog my brain and be like, oh yeah, I remember what happened now. But
I do not have any prior information about these games.
Yeah. So, I mean, German is on Xander this season. He's back to his homeboy in Xander, and Asterix is playing a Brennan Burn. I played a version, I don't know if it's this exact deck, but I played a version of this deck today, just testing a deck I'm working on. And it's very powerful. It's everything you want Brennan to do, for sure. It lacks some of the... And maybe you can check the list, but it didn't have like the Vampire Bat Swarm or any of that stuff that can tend to be really good at keeping Brennan's board up. So
this version has Vampire Bat.
Okay, so then the version I played today online was different. He was testing a different version of
it. He's got Sally, Turtle, Vamp. As his books.
The version I played today online did not have that. It was he had the Sally, but that was it. That was the only thing that was a carryover from the same thing. All right, so let's dive into this thing here. Let's get this party started. I'm sure other viewers will jump in at some point. If you're in chat, be sure to say hello. We love talking with y'all, and that's the reason we do this live. Otherwise, we could just make YouTube content and commentate. What is up, fighting in the chat? In the chat is fighting. All right, so here we go with Asterix and ImpossibleGerman. We've got Xander versus Brennan. Let's get these guys rolling here. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit till we get to the first.
Are you going to share to me?
Oh, yeah, I do have to share this with
you. That would be good for my ability to commentate.
You can't commentate on 10-second delay, Neil? What the heck? Hold on.
I mean, I could. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to everyone. But...
Well, they'd all be seeing it in real time to you, but not to me. Let me get this shared here.
They wouldn't see it in real time to me.
Well, yeah, because you'd be on.
The voice is also delayed, right?
Yeah. That's true.
So it would come in 10 seconds late for them
Yeah, 10 seconds late, You're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah. It'd be like a 20-second delay on your commentary.
Well, it would be 20-second delay from when I saw it to when they heard it, but it would be only 10 seconds for each of us because uh, that's how the delay works. But
Fighting, who do you have to play tonight at 9:30? I don't know who you're paired up with. Sorry. The Cap. All right. I played the Cap, I think.
That'll be a good match.
Is he on Xander?
I don't know what decks they're on. I can find out, I suppose.
Echo. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, he's on the
9 Knights Echo. Yeah, I did play him.
the many Knights Echo.
Yeah. That deck is it's got some really neat stuff going on. I think it's a tricky one to play around. I'm just lucky that I had repeatable Knight essentially in Shadowhound. So I was able to match.
So this Xander is not the String Mage Xander. This is a much more straightforward kind of.
This is just like a book like Xander with allies.
Xander
right?
men, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has a flex of some kind because he's got 4 books.
Yeah, I don't know what that bottom book is. It's hard to tell from this resolution, so I apologize again. We're gonna have to wait.
Well, he's got his options are. Oh, I guess we'll know. So he started 3 books plus
Raptor Herder and Hammer Knight.
And Hammer Knight. I assume that the one he left behind is Turtle. I'm not sure Turtle looks great in this matchup.
No, I think there's a main action, side action, summon Turtle Guard there.
Oh, okay. Maybe he did keep Turtle.
Yep.
I think it would be. So did he not bring Salamander Monk? I'm a little confused by that, but
I think he's got Salamander Monk, Bear, and Turtle from the looks.
So he chose not to bring Lightbringer.
Yeah, that's interesting. Against Brennan, that probably makes sense.
I just think Lightbringer is so good against Vampire Bat that like you would want to start it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It depends on how much like your opponent puts out on the field. So obviously, Brennan, you can expect surprise opens from Brennan if the player wants to do that, where they try to like pressure like quick Raptor Herder into.
And this deck has the like Widows start if it wants it. This is the deck that has a Gornrock in it, which I love. I don't think you should start Gornrock against this deck, but
so we do
obviously there are some decks it's very good against.
Asterix did roll 7 basics out of the gate, and German looks like he went second here. So
wait, you said he rolled 7 basics?
He did roll 7 basics. Asterix did. So he's meditating.
Did they re-roll? Oh, he's meditating now. Okay,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. So he rolled a bunch of basics, chose to go first.
Right. So he takes double frog and brings up 2 ceremonial powers as well. The ceremonial powers to me look like you're setting up the Widow's play for sure. And he does start the Gornrock right out of the gate here. Like
it's going to be good against this open that the Xander has started.
Yeah, because the Xander didn't start any removal, so that's a really sort of
honestly like it is pretty good against Earthquake. Because Earthquake doesn't kill it, but Earthquake Frog Ping kills it, and you're still up a dice.
And Xander's got the Festers in the deck, right? So it's
the Fester is specifically why I would be hesitant to play it. But it's true that like he probably doesn't first 5 a Fester against you,
right?
Well, maybe he does. You have 3 Vamps and a Hammer Knight.
So we see German meditate away a Fire Archer and an Inflame so far, and bring up a Turtle Power and a Nature Power, and then does meditate one of those Festers away to get Nature Power up. Obviously not, he's not bluffing the Hammer Knight yet. There he goes. There's the bluff for potentially. And he does meditate an Earthquake in true Impossible German fashion. He meditates away one of his loyalty cards.
1 Fester down, 1 Earthquake down. I mean, obviously, Asterix doesn't have the knowledge of the first 5 like we do.
Right.
So he could be weary and playing around this, but if I started going rock and my opponent meditated Earthquake Fester, I'd be pretty happy, I think.
Yeah, me too. At the very least, you just know that Xander can recur that Gorn Rock, right? Like it's not, or Brennan can. So it's not like.
Yeah, but I mean, we're already talking about a unit that is a 4 dice unit, and
Sure.
when you make it a 5 dice unit, then like we're going to the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gornrock is good the turn that it stays in play after you pay for it. The turn that you pay for it, it's just okay.
So we
If
have
it survives and you untap with it, then it's nuts.
a pair of Raptor Herders. I think this is going to definitely force German's hand to probably put that Hammer Knight down, and Gornrock looks real happy
I
going out of Hammer Knight.
I don't think he'll play Hammer Knight yet. I mean,
Well, you kind of have
the
to because
Brennan
what
is
you risk is you're going to see a Spirit Burn on that Herder into Widows and get attacked for like a billion here.
it won't be a billion though. Like, I mean, I guess it like you because he has his own Raptor in play. He's got a bunch of blockers. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that the next round will be it, but I guess one benefit of doing the Widows thing is that it puts a bunch of counters on the Gornrock.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you attack with Widow, Hatchling, Gornrock, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple blockers, you're gonna get like three counters on the Gornrock to begin with.
Right.
So he does play the Hammer Knight. The
So
and
he's just gonna straight attack Brawler into Hammer Knight. I
right,
do
and
like this.
100%, I think this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what Brawler's for, right? Like it.
Absolutely, because at this point you really can't. I mean, the Xander player is going to have to really work hard to kill this Gornrock Brawler.
Well, he can't. I don't think. Um,
Well, he can counterattack with the Hammer Knight. Obviously, the PB guard is still up. So, but he does have Bear and Salamander Monk. Both of those. I mean, you're just committing a ton of resources to kill the Brawler if you go that route. It's tough. It's
right.
tough.
I don't think he can kill the Brawler this turn and like be happy about it.
Sure, sure.
I mean, it is possible that because we assume the Brennan's going to eat the Hammer Knight, like the PB guard is going to take the Hammer Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're going to attack it with like Bear. Like you literally don't have enough power after that if the
Right.
Hammer Knight doesn't hit it because you just have 2 off the Bear, 1 off a Herder, and 1 off a Sally.
So there's Vampire Bat Swarm coming down here. Um, Seems pretty good. There's the Salamander Monk from Xander. These guys are moving pretty fast here, but
Yeah, and if I'm the Brennan player now, I'm super happy about this Gornrock because like him playing the Herder and the Sally, it pretty much definitively means he didn't start an Earthquake.
right. I mean, the Xander player is still going to have like a fairly large battlefield of units here. Like I think a maxed out battlefield just based on what I'm seeing. Brennan is still 2 away from being maxed out, but yeah, Warrior Poet Inquisitor says 5 for a recurve brawler is not the worst thing in Brennan. She can run a super cheap spell board if she wants. Yes, yes, Cam. I gave German a lot of flack right away for a meditated EQ in round 1.
Yeah,
Meditated Fester and an EQ.
I don't think that the units that are going to come into play the rest of this turn are going to be significantly better or worse than the ones that are already in play.
Mm-hmm.
Here you see a good attack because he essentially can't PB guard this unless he has an answer for Hammer Knight as his last card.
Yeah, that's true. Although, I mean, yeah, that's true. You'd have to have a unit guard here.
You can't PB. I guess his last card could also be no. You wouldn't want unit guard either. Because you need the PB guard to hit the Hammer Knight attack.
So now, if you're the Brennan player, do you go ahead and Spirit Burn the Herder into Widows? I mean, you're
no.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if he had Widows, he would have done it there off that attack.
Well, no, because he still had a Nature Ping up. He still had the side action available. German still had side action to take one of the Widows on Nature Ping.
Right, but what difference does that make if he does it now? Like, I don't think this Brennan player starting Gornrock wants to make the 8 damage attack, especially into Hammer Knight. Like, he's going for a grindy game, not a aggro game.
Yeah, I mean, it may be possible. I have a hard time not believing this isn't this last card isn't a Widows.
It might be a Widows, but I don't think he'll play it to attack. He'll play it to grind the game out because he's got this Gornrock. Like, if you start Gornrock, it becomes a Gornrock game, not a like normal Brennan game.
Sure.
The Spirit Burn attack doesn't even look good, right? Like he does 2 damage off Spirit Burn, trades 3 guys, and the Hammer Knight cracks him back. Like it doesn't sound very good to me.
Well, sure, you do. I mean, you do eliminate probably the herder and the hatchling, but maybe not because you can alert block with Hammer Knight. So
Right. You give your opponent the choice on whether or not they want to keep their guys or their
sure.
life, and you're down to no guys and take more damage back.
Mhm.
Like it's just not effective. The Widows might be a fine card to have as his last card. Just to like, you know, make some guys and trade and whatever.
So he goes ahead and makes the Vampire Bat Swarm.
Is this a turtle book that he played? What's the book he played
The
besides Vamp?
I think it's a turtle book, but I'm not sure. No, it can't be a turtle book. I don't know what that is. Salamander monk, maybe?
Salamander.
Yeah,
So he's not playing Salamander this turn because he just made the bat instead.
right.
So that makes me believe that this is a Widows and he's keeping up untapped Gornrock dice, or
So
I
German
don't know what
attacks
I don't know
Raptor
what it
Herder
is.
with Raptor Herder.
Yep, and again, these are good attacks, like
Yes.
because the Brennan has to save its guard for Hammer Knight.
So my question is, would you rather attack the Raptor Herder or the Vampire Bat Swarm? You'd force a dice exhaustion here.
I would rather attack the like. I don't want to give him the opportunity to essentially make a 1 dice 2-1.
Sure.
Because every time you trade with bat, you're just giving your opponent a 1 dice 2-1.
Sure.
You want to make the bat do something beforehand.
Right.
So again, I don't think this last card is Widows because I think we would have seen it by now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know either because he only has the 1 sympathy dice. So why did he start Salamander book and Vampire book? Is he just on like
Just on his first 4 because of the Gornrock cost?
it's like a blood chains and he's keeping up buyback bat and
It could be a final
untap
cry.
Gornrock.
It could be a final cry. He
Ugh.
could go
First 5 final card does not sound good to me.
Oh, what just happened here? Something happened with German Zoom.
Yeah, like the resolution.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to fix that though.
Right. That's I guess we don't get hand cams anymore.
There we go. He got it fixed again.
Okay.
He says in chat, sorry, I'm having an issue clicking. Inquisitor says he could be planning a double respawn bats. For sure. I mean, it's possible that you could go ahead and like kill your own bat. Oh, okay, there we go back. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, I guess if you think he could be leaving up Spirit Burn plus Bat Buyback plus Gornrock.
What could be a single time die in the Brennan list?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. So it's literally nothing.
No, sorry. It could be a Generosity.
But that doesn't really do much here.
No, it does not. In fact, I think it's much better for the Xander. All 3 modes. So I think he must have just like left up Spirit Burn, buyback bat, and possible untap Gornrock.
So maybe he's just wanting to carry over that maybe it is a Widows and he just wants to carry that over into I don't know. I'm just trying to think if he's trying to carry over like so he kind of started like a first 3. It feels weird. I mean, obviously Asterix has played his deck many more times than we have.
Well,
so
he has it's first 4, right? Like, I mean, I guess he didn't activate Sally Book, so that's like half a card.
Yeah.
What was his other card? It was Raptor Herder.
Yeah.
So
And he says, Asterix is saying in chat, I misplay too. So I think he got himself tight on dice somehow, but I don't know.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe he put Vamp in his hand.
So there's the only other time card in his deck that requires time is the.
He's got Turtle Book.
Oh, okay. That's
He
why
just didn't start it in.
That's why he's got double turtle dice.
I suppose he could have Turtle Book as his last card.
He could.
Because he could spend a ceremonial on the basic cost to play the book and then the turtle on the turtle itself.
Right.
That would be okay.
Certainly seems like it might be.
And he would still have Spirit Burn or Bat buyback.
Right. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense. But he said he misplayed, so it's possible that he just has an unplayable card.
Yeah.
I've done that before because you put the Gornrock in your deck for these like corner case scenarios, but he only has 2 time dice, 2 nature dice. Mm-hmm. So like he can't. This could be like a Hammer Knight.
Sure.
That he couldn't play because he didn't have enough nature.
Right. So here we're gonna see the Xander player make a Frostback Bear. When in doubt, play Bear. That's what Inquisitor says. When in doubt, play Bear. I've been watching your videos, Inquisitor.
The card's very good.
Yeah. Interesting enough, Vampire Bat fights Bear on a nice axis.
It's okay. It's not like wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can block it and you like get your guy back. And in this scenario it'd be good because it could kill the bear. Mm-hmm. Since the PB guard is down. But I don't know. This is rough. This is where that early Gornrock attack is being punished. Because if you just left the Gornrock back, the PB guard for Xander would be available, but there would be essentially like no good attacks ever into the Gornrock. Because it would almost immediately untap into this board.
Yeah. The German is considering an attack here. Of course, man. Absolutely. Keep doing what you're doing. I love people making content.
I kind of like the Gornrock plus Vampire Bat setup. Just in general, like you kind of need 1 or 2 like guys that you want to trade off alongside him to really power him up, and Vampire Bat is like obviously very good at that.
So he's going to attack Bear into Gornrock. I think
you cannot PB guard this.
Right. Yep. The risk,
and you shouldn't. There's he's got no dice, no cards in hand, so you know that the Gornrock will survive. Mm-hmm. Like you have PB guard for the 3 damage thing, and that's his last attack.
So if you know this, because here's the deal: like you're not going to get the Hammer Knight to kill this Gornrock, right? So if that's not going to happen, then why wouldn't you take? I mean, I'm just curious here talking through this. If I was German, I think I'd have just made that bear attack straight into Brennan. Again, it forces that Vampire Bat to get exhausted.
This sets up the potential Fester draw.
Sure.
Gornrock only has recover 1.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay.
I assume I agree with you. I think I would have just like, I mean, I guess if you attack face, then the Vampire Bat gets its value.
Well, but
so maybe it's better to attack Gornrock.
So here's what I was going to say. So he's actually going to attack. This is a very strange attack because you're going to get.
Well, I guess if he's planning on buying it back anyway, it's okay.
But the Vampire Bat's going to get exhausted if he doesn't guard here, right? He just lets the Raptor die, and then your Vampire Bat gets exhausted, and you can't buy it back. Unless
but there's nothing that can kill it.
True.
So it doesn't matter if you can buy it back or not. There's nothing that can kill it.
So I guess if I was German, I think I would have turned on group tactics there and attacked with all 3 to face. You can only block 1 of them. So even if he turns the bat on, you got a turtle guard on the back end.
You're saying instead of the bear attack, you would attack Bear Hammer Knight.
Bear Hammer Knight Raptor at Brennan. All 3. Turn on the group tactics.
I think that's a little worse because since he has the turtle guard.
Yeah, because he had the turtle guard up to protect the counter swing from the bat.
Yeah. Okay, so that's probably fine.
So we do see the vat get rebought here.
Right. Which, now that Turtle is exhausted, this bat will get its eat. So here's the PB guard.
Yep. Yep.
Um, he's not going to attack Turtle, is he?
I hope he doesn't.
That would not be a good play.
No. I mean, honestly, your best bet here might be. Well, because German's going to go first, so he's going to get that raptor. Yeah, so you just go
I
with
would
the hatchling.
I would attach hatchling or bear, one of those two.
Yeah. Inquisitor says hatchling. I tend to agree with you, Inquisitor. I think you just take that hatchling away because it represents a threat at the top of the round.
Yeah, I think he chooses hatchling. I think it's defensible to do either bear or hatchling.
Sure.
And it's even defensible to attack Hammer Knight if that last card in your hand does something. But I don't think it does because we haven't seen him
right
many cards. I mean, this is a turn where you're not going to activate Brennan, I assume.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Brennan's going to get a Spirit Burn in here.
God, think how insane it would have been if that last card was just like Anchor Knot.
Oh my gosh, right?
It just kill that hatchling, get to Spirit Burn, get to attack bear with your bat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
and
this is okay.
And put an 0-1 blocker up for next round.
No, the 0-1 would die if he Spirit Burned.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so I actually think I like the attack into Gornrock because it also it turns on Fester and it turns on Earthquake.
Right.
Because it's the right amount of damage.
Yeah.
So maybe that's good. The Brennan player does not have any way to protect the Gornrock, so this Gornrock's gonna die.
Right.
I assume he's gonna kill it now anyway.
My guess is that he's gonna make a Hammer Knight attack into it and try to force the Gornrock.
I would not do that. You just play Earthquake; it's guaranteed. You get the Hammer Knight, and you even get to pick up the.
Well, German is currently on an attack plan, right? I just think that you can force an early PB guard if the player's trying to protect the Gornrock and then get the Earthquake kill on the back end. Is a potential line here.
I just don't think you want to let the Gornrock do anything.
Sure, because I'm not disagreeing with that line either. I think there is two lines here. One line allows you to get a little extra PB damage, which Brennan can be a race, but we're just seeing Vampire Bat get attacked by the Salamander Monk.
Do you counter here?
That's a good question.
I mean, you're not PB guarding.
Right. No, you're definitely not.
And you're
PB
probably
guarding.
buying it back.
I'd probably counter. I don't know.
I think I would counter.
Yeah, he did buy it back, though.
I think I would counter because just to play around Earthquake, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Yeah, because it makes his Earthquake a little worse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
brings up for another turtle here.
Now, this is an interesting bluff kind of, because if I have the Gornrock and I know my opponent's list and they didn't windmill slam the Fester or the Earthquake into it right away, do I think they have it?
Well, that's why I said I'm not sure the best play was to. I mean, you can let this Turtle Guard block this Gornrock, right? You just have a million ways to protect your life.
No, you can't.
Why?
Because then it's Turtle Dice untap. If that happens.
No, you have to have another main action. You've got EQ. Your opponent's got EQ to finish the brawler.
Right, but if you're going to do that, you should just do it right away. That line of play is just, instead of using only Earthquake to kill the brawler, using Earthquake and throwing a turtle away for no reason.
So he goes ahead and chokes the Xander here.
I guess that's fine. Choking Xander is not a very meaningful play usually. But if he doesn't have anything better to do with his dice, then 1 damage is all right. Choking Xander is good if he doesn't have a board already. when he already has an awesome board like he does, the buyback is not very meaningful to the game.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the choices here are because I mean certainly German is setting up this this EQ, but
See,
um,
I think that I would have not choked until like the end of the round, just to keep up the maximum number of bat buybacks.
sure.
Because I would always rather make a bat.
He's still got four buybacks at this particular point.
Right, but he could have 5.
Sure.
And if he has some left over, then he can still choke at the end of the round. Because I just don't think the Xander ability would have done anything anyway.
So what did he play the other ceremonial die? Oh, he bought his bat from the first attack from the salamander. Yep. Yeah, I still think you're probably best if you're Asterix to counter that first salamander. To your point, it makes the EQ play.
Well, so the way that it would play out if that happened was just that like then the following turn the spirit would attack as a main action.
Right.
And you could buy your thing back or not.
So Gornrock's going to attack the bear.
That's interesting. I wonder why he didn't choose Hammer Knight.
Well, he doesn't need as like. What if your opponent counters on Hammer Knight? Right. If your opponent counters on Hammer Knight, you go to 4 life, and you're a frog ping away from dead.
Yeah, I guess playing around the frog ping is fine. That's reasonable enough.
So now you are sort of saying EQ me now, or I'm going to get my brawler back fully healed.
Oh yeah, now he has to play the Earthquake or the Molten Gold, honestly.
Yeah. Both would be good here.
But you got to kill the brawler before he has another main action.
Yep. Because he is at 6 counters, so he is able to buy the brawler back at full health here.
See, I don't know why the Earth like this is kind of similar to the line of play you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. So
except
he makes another guard. Interesting. Okay.
I guess he just.
Well, he knows he can still get.
You're trading a lot of cards into this brawler that you don't have to. Is the only that's like
that. I agree with that statement for sure. But
we also put another 1/1 into play, which is not something you usually want to do before Earthquake. Also,
right. So now we're gonna have Vampire Bat get attacked by the Salamander Monk again. I still think the correct action here is to counter, but he probably won't. And
if he didn't counter the first one, he shouldn't counter this one. Like. It wouldn't make I can't think of a reason because I think that there's like defendable to both lines, but I don't think that there's one where like you do one of each. You're either not countering either, you're countering both.
So I wonder, does the so he uses a sympathy on this one. Does the Brennan player run crescendo?
Yeah, one crescendo.
So if he has a crescendo here, he can take the turtle guard out and force the PB guard for another 4 damage on Xander.
Yeah, I think attacking with Gornrock is fine, even without the crescendo. Like the crescendo would obviously be very good, but
yeah, because I mean, otherwise you're just eating the turtle guard up, and there is value in eating the turtle guard up, no doubt. But
yeah, I mean, I think you can leave the Gornrock back also. Like it it makes attacks so awkward, especially like, I mean, I guess he's a little bit behind on dice, so the Gornrock's a less effective there. But
yeah, I mean, you have to assume the Gornrock's not going to make it through 2 rounds, right? Like you just have to make that assumption.
Why?
Because I just think that there's just too much opportunity for it to die to too many things.
If I was in Asterix's seat right now and I didn't know my opponent's hand, I would think that it was going to survive this round.
Okay.
Because it had a damage on it. Turn 1, my opponent had the opportunity to Earthquake it or Fester it, and they didn't. And there's not enough damage in play right now or in his books to kill it. So why would it die? That would be my line of thinking.
German is in chat and says, my thought here was max Earthquake value with Exhausted Sallies. Yeah, I get the Exhausted Sallies. You just take a risk that if your opponent counters, you didn't get the value out of them. I guess you just are playing an even longer kind of back and forth here with your opponent at that point. And then he said he was waiting for the Master Vamps to come out. But would you EQ the Master Vamp over the Brawler then? Like, I feel like you really can't.
I mean,
I guess you can handle both through Molten Gold and EQ if that happens. But now he's definitely showing. So he does counter back with a Sympathy Pain to get 2 more damage.
He went Sympathy Pain to face. Okay.
Yep. That takes the Xander down to 10 life remaining.
Yeah, I mean, the Xander is way ahead on dice now. So like, that's probably very good. Like it seems very likely that you would be able to get a Hammer Knight crack into the Gorn Rock if you wanted this turn with the second Hammer Knight.
So Asterix is still just holding and passing here. Yeah, I mean, definitely EQing seems pretty solid here. EQ to ping.
I think I would have Sympathy Pained the bear, honestly.
Yeah, just because then it makes the EQ bad, right? Or a little bit worse.
If makes it a little better for you.
Yeah.
And again, if I was in Asterix, I wouldn't think he had an Earthquake.
Right.
But the bear doesn't recover, so it'd make the Earthquake, fine at any time.
Yeah.
So now he's considering Widows, I assume.
Yep. But he just regrows the Vampire.
Oh, no, he was considering Vampire buyback, yeah.
Yeah. So this Vampire Bat is going to go down this round just because of the double spirits now. And if we because
because of the double spirits plus Hammer Knight, it could die, but or a Nature Ping or something.
He takes one spirit in, you get Brennan Guard, assuming that, and you get a regrow. A second spirit goes in, you can't regrow it at that point. Get Brennan Guard.
No, you have a regrow and a Brennan Guard that covers 2 attacks.
Sure.
So if he attacks with Hammer Knight or plays one of these other units in his hand, then it's dead.
What's the other book we talked about? It's another bear, right? He's got another bear.
He's got Bear Turtle Sally.
Yeah, so he's got a bear still left to make this turn as well. So here's Vampire Bat attacking the Hammer Knight. Wonder why. I guess he wants to eat the Turtle Guard up, is what he's baiting there. Yeah, he does get the Turtle Guard here. And now this Vampire Bat is definitely dead this round.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of was already, so...
I mean, no doubt, you're looking at possibly Brennan player taking 9 damage here just from 2 Hammer Knights and a Molten Gold to the face. Yeah, Xander's going to go down to 4 here. He's got 2 space left, so it can make another bear if it wants to, and can make a Hammer Knight if it wants to.
I would make bear over Molten Gold.
I think I would agree with that as well. He does have a Final Cry.
It's like 1 less damage and then plus 2 damage next turn.
So Final Cry hitting Xander again, taking Xander to 8. So, I mean, 8 is a lot still, a long ways away.
Because what does Brennan have? 18? He's going to take 8.
Well, he could take
10.
Yeah.
And then essentially die on not top of next round, but his opponent's first action next round.
Right. And 8's still in that safety net range. 5 becomes unsafe against Brennan, but 8 is still in that safety net range for Brennan when you're playing against Brennan. 5 gets a little dicey just because they can play Fire Archer into Spirit Burn into Final Cry, and that's 5 damage. So, but here's just a 10 attack, taking the Brennan player down to 3.
You're talking about like this like niche 5 damage play, and he's just casually getting attacked for 10. So yeah. I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, you never know with Brennan, but it's
well, you know this time because the lists are open,
sure,
and he has a Molten Gold in hand.
So we go into round 3. I missed the round update. Sorry, everybody. And it goes to Asterix here.
Yep, the way that this game played out just looked a little awkward for the Brennan. I don't know what happened in round 1, but they
Asterix, go ahead.
Left a few damage on the table. Left a few dice on the table. I like the Gornrock start. I really did.
Yeah.
Well, I think in round 1, I think in round 1 you shouldn't attack with the Gornrock right away. You should see if you can get it to block first. Because I think you're more likely to untap with it if you
take some damage on it.
Well, if you just like get some other guys in play alongside it.
Sure. I think probably his mistake was most likely consuming a sympathy die to summon the Brawler instead of one of the time dice.
Yeah, Inquisitor. I think Brawler's role is to like be playable in certain matchups, and it was playable in this matchup, and then be a blowout in a very small number of matchups. And then most of the time you never play it because it's a one of in your deck for those specific times when your opponent is low on removal. Because the damage-based removal is not very good at killing it. It just isn't. There's a huge life pool, and obviously it heals itself. So, and it did a lot of good work in that game.
Yeah,
it definitely got 4 dice back for him. Like he got his value out of playing it because it survived to round 2.
Yeah, I just think you have to commit so much to like protecting it, right? One of the ways you can protect it is Fate Reflection. Another way to protect it is...
Right, but this game is a perfect example that you don't. Like the reason you play it is because you're going to start it in games where you don't have to put work into protecting it. And that's true more so in tournaments of ours that have the open deck list. It would be much dicier to just like run that into play against that Xander list in a closed deck list, I think.
Well, why?
Maybe not, since he had the 3 festers.
I was gonna say he's got the 3 festers and the nature pings. Like it looks like it's the literal like. And Asterix, if you're here, please don't take offense by this, but it looks like the like literal worst matchup to start Brawler.
It's not the literal worst because it could be a 3 fester Jessa or a 3 fester Odette. Those are the literal worst.
Sure, okay, but it looks pretty bad to run it into a fester nature ping.
Well,
if your opponent thinks that you're going to open with a knight in your Brennan, you know it's a reasonable start point.
It depends on a lot of stuff. You're right that it's dicey to throw it into Fester, but Fester is the only thing. If it gets Earthquaked plus an additional card or dice or whatever, you're getting very close to breaking even.
Mm-hmm.
And the Earthquake has this disadvantage where, like, essentially it has to be Earthquake Frog Ping.
Right.
Because if it's not, you're putting yourself in danger of it untapping. Because that puts 4 counters on it. And so I think it's fine. And it's also kind of a mind game thing where, like, your opponent can have festers. But if you... making your opponent fester at the beginning of round 2 after it having done something in round 1, you're like definitely getting your value out of it then, because you're taking dice in the following round from your opponent, which is much more powerful than taking dice in the same round. I don't know. I'm a little with you, Jesse. I would be too scared to run Gornrock into the list.
It feels you're really like tossing the dice there. I mean, pun intended. Yeah, credit to Asterix for
because it worked out. And like if he's seen previous games that German has played and knows that he doesn't want to start a fester,
sure,
those kind of things. You just use the information you have to make the best decision you have. And the Gornrock, it didn't take over the game, but it was like essentially the like linchpin of the game until the Brennan had lost. Because once the Gornrock was dead, the Brennan was pretty dead.
Right.
But I don't know. It was a cool game. I mean,
I
I'm
completely
happy
agree.
there's a Gornrock in the
Yeah.
in the thing. I don't know that anybody's played Gornrock as much as I have. But and again, I don't think it's like this isn't a card you can just put anywhere. It's like a one of sometimes, but it's cool, and when it works, it feels really good. And like,
So, German, you were personally happy about Gornrock. What do you mean by that? I mean, you were happy to see it do well, or you were happy to see him play it? I was most scared of Widow's Open, and it turns out the same card that I FF to handle that hurt or slowed it down enough for me to really get up on board. Yeah. I mean, that Brennan doesn't really play to the board anyways, right? So Xander's life is sort of like getting, in many Phoenixborn's case, one free heal or maybe two free heals in general. In comparison, so like you don't have to, preserve your life or value your life as much in Xander when you're facing Brennan, and it's still a hard reach for Brennan to get to that 20. So I think he played it extremely well. I mean, I'm not saying that at all. I just you did eat a lot of dice to sort of try to get there on the brawler at some point. Whereas
the Brennan deck just like lacked the backup for brawler. He needed to have a vamp or something.
Yeah, I'm sure that he probably hoped to draw into vamp in the next round, and probably if that fifth card was Widows, he probably shouldn't have started Widows and Brawler, because that's 6 of your 10 dice. And Vampire Bat Swarm, when you've already spent 6 of your 10, doesn't look very good, because Vampire Bat Swarm's probably going to cost you 3 to 4 dice itself.
Well, yeah, this is the issue with Vampire Bat, is that because we've moved to a state of Ashes where the first 5 is so incredibly important that you need to use all 10 of your dice, and Vampire Bat is kind of like, maybe I use an additional dice or 2.
Right.
When it doesn't, then you're like kind of hamstringing yourself.
Right.
Though, I mean, the card's very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And it can really wreck certain decks. I mean, I have certainly had my fair share of run-ins with Vampire Bat where my deck just did not have an answer for it.
Yeah, it makes you play in a way that is contrary to how the game normally works.
Right. Yep. And I don't think it's good enough to be like spending 1 dice. I mean, Salamander Monk looks pretty good into it, right? Like I don't hate Salamander Monk and what you did with Salamander Monk. I do think your opponent didn't do a great job of playing around the potential Earthquake play. Even if you didn't have it, I think you still have to play around it. And I know that you're going to have those double Monk Spirits and still get those Monk Spirits in. So you know that Vampire Bat is not going to make it through, but it has the opportunity still to clear that part of the board, and that's still worth something. But yeah. That's a fantastic when you are expecting to have to spend a die to deal with 3-eyed owl, but your opponent is not an owl. Maybe I'm not following you 100% on that, Inquisitor. When you say that, like, you can't really attack.
He's saying if you first 5 against owl and then they don't play owl, then you get a dice back. So then that is good. Like,
sure. But I mean, you knew that this Xander list was not going to have owl. So either way, I mean, I really enjoyed that game. It was really interesting, and obviously the Brennan player did a lot of damage still for really not playing much to the board, right? Playing just a Vampire Bat and a Gornrock Brawler.
I mean, the Gornrock still did 8 or something, right? Like,
right. It did for itself for sure. But because of the first round attack, forced the PB
it didn't get guarded the second time.
It got guarded
by turtles.
Turtle on the second attack, so it didn't get in for extra damage there. The rest of that damage, because it did a total of 12 damage, so the other 8 damage just came on the back of the burns. The Final Cries and Sympathy Pains, and
he played 1 Final Cry, 1 Sympathy Pain.
I would love to talk to Asterix about this list a little bit, because I wonder how much you really need 2 time dice in the deck. Like we saw Brian B play some time in his Brennan deck in season 3, but he only had 1 time die. It's for Turtle Guard, right? And that was it. Now, obviously, like, Asterix has added the Gornrock Brawler and a Generosity, but there's probably rounds in Brennan where you could give up a turtle for Generosity if it was good enough, right?
Yeah, I think the issue is just that like the games where generosity is good, turtle is probably also good.
For sure. Oh yeah.
So you want to play him in the same turn
But it
because if
just
it's
looked
a
like
turtle game, you want to be making a turtle every round.
his deck was just starved for sympathy dice to be able to make Vampire Bat Swarm and make Salamander Monk and
Right. It's
and play
this deck
other
is
things.
stretched on dice. And I think I mean, it's essentially because he's playing Molten Gold.
Sure.
Like that's if he wasn't playing these 2 nature dice, which I don't know if that's right or wrong. He's got the Gorn Rock, a Hammer Knight, and Raptor Herders, but the Herders could be played off sympathy.
Yeah,
That
German. That's a good point.
like that's a place where you could stretch, like you could alleviate that stretches in these nature dice.
Right. So German says Turtle Guard in the first 5 instead of Widows probably turns the game in Asterix's favor. It just eats my Bears and Hammer Knights, and at that point I have to race Burn, but he's got Brennan. I completely agree that's a possibility. I'm not sure it eats the Hammer Knights, but it definitely
would have been better than keeping a card in hand or having a Salamander book you never activated.
Correct. Yeah.
So
yeah, no doubt about that. So,
but that, I mean, again, it's all based on like first 5 calls, and
sure,
if I don't know that your first 5 looks weird when you're starting Gorn Rock, I'm sure in this deck because you have this like time splash and this nature splash.
Mm-hmm.
So you like kind of run out because normally I think in this deck, if you start a Raptor Herder, you're expecting to play it off a nature dice because to your point earlier, like this deck just uses a lot of sympathy dice. But as soon as the Gorn Rock takes up one of these nature dice, then it just stretches it very thin. And it's not to say that you can't construct first 5s that work, but it is difficult to try to play the Widows. I don't know.
It like just doing like so I do some basic like when I do some basic decisions on dice and I mean I would love to hear other people's approaches to this as well, but like when I just quick look at Asterix's list and I go, okay, how many dice need nature? And I go, okay, well, we've got a Hammer Knight needs 1, Raptor Herders, you got 3 of them, so that's going to take 3 more. So now I've got 4 nature dice in my total deck cost. And then I look at the rest of the list and I go Molten Gold, and since that takes 2 nature dice to play Molten Gold, I count that double, so that's another 4. So now I have 8 nature dice that I'd have to spend if I was going to play all the nature cards in my deck. And then I usually go, for every 3 of those, I need 1 dice. So 8 into 2 is stretched on the nature, for sure. And if you did cut the Molten Golds, then 2 nature dice is perfect. You would be at 4, so you'd actually be able to stretch it probably to 1 and just make a decision.
If he's cutting Molten Gold, like the benefit of cutting Molten Gold would be that you could just like go to 1
and then add another sympathy die. Right. Because when I count up the sympathy dice, and I'm not even thinking about Vampire Bat Recursion, but Salamander is 1, Vampire Bat is 2, Master Vampire is going to give you 5. I mean, technically the Raptor Herders can be stretched into sympathy as well, but I'm not going to do that. The Crescendo makes 6. So, and Sympathy Pain makes 9. So really, this deck is stretching Sympathy way harder than Nature just because of those Molten Golds.
Yeah, the deck has just like I bet this deck has way more power symbols and class symbols in it than the average deck. Because like Final Cries are all power, Sympathy Pain is power, Sleeping Widows is double class, Molten Gold is double power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got these knights in it too. And Turtle Guard, like,
yeah,
there's not a lot of places that this deck gets to like throw away its basics to, and
almost
there's
none.
No dice fixing.
The only basic I don't cost think you have is in Brawler.
Important.
Yeah, I mean the only basic cost you have are in Brawler, Turtle Guard, Hammer Knight, Master Vampire. Right, everything else,
and only the Master Vampire and the Hammer Knight like are the ones that matters because the Turtle Guard basic cost and the Gorn Rock basic cost are only going to happen in round 1.
Right.
Like I think like it's possible that you would draw the Turtle Book or the Gorn Rock at some point later in the game and like play it for a basic, but it's like very unlikely.
Right.
Because it's just not your game plan and the Brennan games are so short. that you don't have a lot of time to draw your deck.
Right.
Um,
All right, well, we've got another match on tap here, so I'd like to flip over to that. I'm going to need just a minute to get the user interface set up, so I'm gonna flip you over there. Give me like, I don't know, like a minute, and then I'll be back in and ready to go here, and then we'll be all set to take off with these guys. So, if you want to talk to chat more about this matchup, you certainly can while I do this. So, I'm gonna transition the scene though.
Yeah, I mean, the coolest thing that came out of this match was the Gorn Rock, and like German said, like if you're sitting on a jillion removal spells, like maybe you feel pretty good about the Gorn Rock being in play. But I don't know. It's just so hard to tell because the way that game played out was it was a Gorn Rock game. But yeah, so because like many of the plays in that game were oriented around like turn one Gorn Rock, that it's impossible to say how the game would have played out if he had started two dice cards or whatever in its place. If he would have got more legs out of it. Essentially, as soon as you untap it once, so it's insane.
Okay, I think I have everything ready to go. Sembali has 19 health, right?
I don't even know who the people are that are playing right now.
It's Waves and Chaostheory.
Okay, let me get those deck lists up
for you here.
I think it's 19, but I'm not sure. Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited to see the Sembali list. It's kind of a little different.
I think Waves, yeah, I mean, I think Waves based this one off of that Ashcon list, but I'm not 100% sure on that. He might be on here in chat and willing to add some value here on this conversation, but all right, so let's get this party started here. So we've got German, or excuse me, geez, we just had German, and we got Chaostheory and Waves. Let's hit the play button.
Yeah, so some things to talk about.
Waves came up with it all on his own. Perfect. All right. So Waves starts off with Ceratosaurus, Sonic. I don't know what that other book was. I'm sorry, I missed that. A Root Armor. Root Armor looks really good against an opponent.
Lightbringer or Lioness, I assume Lightbringer.
Root Armor looks really good when your opponent doesn't have, well, I guess they can have a ton of hard removal and Illusion with the Fade Away and Two Shadows.
Yeah,
so.
I'm skeptical of this of this Root Armor to begin with, but
yeah, but he does have the P Mage, I guess, to cancel a Fade Away if he thinks.
The P Mage I think is a great start because of Fade Away, but
it also works extremely well because you can open with the Sonic and then you can P Mage and then mount. So Just Cam saying, "Let's go Wolves." Cam is clearly on the Team Noah plan right now.
How have the Noahs been doing? I haven't really been paying attention.
I don't remember who's the highest ranked one right now.
Won this round against Noah. I just happened to be watching that game.
Yeah, I forget who Greenleaf played, but I think that was the highest ranked Noah, whoever that was. Because Matt's
so it is a Lioness. It's not a Lightbringer.
Yep. Okay, so Wing Lioness.
And the Noah played Wolf and something else.
Mist Spirit, I think that's a Mist Spirit.
Oh, Mist Spirit.
I'm not sure. I can't tell. Sorry.
That one was Salamander.
Yeah, so it's Lightbringer, Mass Wolf, and Salamander Monk is what we've got on the Noah side so far. We do see him meditate here, losing a Fade Away, losing a Sonic Swordsman, and a Shadow Guard to bring up 3 Wolves.
Sembali meditates the Angelic Rescue, which he's probably very happy about because it doesn't do anything in this match.
Nope.
I guess there's like a Crescendo. It's okay against that.
Crescendo seems all right for counter to Angelic Rescue. So here's a Lioness. I like the Lioness here only because you're kind of able to eat whatever your opponent decides to do here. If they go Lightbringer, you can kill the Lightbringer.
It's the best. It's his best your go unit, right?
Right.
It's in order to make the Ceratosaurus, he has to spend a bunch of resources, like commit a bunch of stuff. And he doesn't want to do that. He wants to put a threat in play and then pass the turn.
Right.
And so
he's going to go ahead and...
This is interesting. Oh, okay. Sorry, the wolf was attacking. I thought the...
Gets the Sembali guard. I did think the Linus was attacking the Mass Wolf there. It can be a little
You have
tricky.
to guard that. Like,
yeah, I think so too.
You can't make that dice trade.
No, not especially when you've got a couple of nature dice. I guess you're not going to probably get to play the nature if you go into the root armor right away. I'm with Inquisitor here, where what would get you is if he doesn't start the fade away and actually starts a 2 shadows. I don't know if Chaostheory has 2 shadows in his list. Yeah, okay. So then I think the P Mage is a great answer to that. Yep. Definitely not giving Gifts of Wings to the Swordsman this game, but that's quite all right. Who went first here? It looks like Waves went first, sorry.
Why don't you think he's going to Wings to Swordsman?
Because he's only got Polarity Mage and make Ceratosaurus.
Oh, well, given the opportunity to Wings Swordsman, Wingsing Swordsman is way better than making a Ceratosaurus.
That may be true.
Like, I think he's going to make a Ceratosaurus because I don't think there'll be a good Wings opportunity on Swordsman. But, like, 3/4 Sonic Pulse second attack is better than
3/3 overkill.
Like,
yeah, I mean
3/3 for 3. We're talking about like 3/4 extra attack with Sonic Pulse for 2.
Sure. He doesn't attack here.
And Waves actually passes.
Yeah, that's an early pass from Waves. I guess you're probably pretty happy if this is the way you end round 1, right? Your opponent has a Mass Wolf.
Oh yeah, you're 3 dice ahead.
Yeah.
The Noah can't pass back. Yeah, I suppose he could shadow target the Ceratosaur, but like, just like what I was talking about, the Wings is on board, so you're not really like
getting anywhere,
stranding any dice or anything.
Yeah, with no 2 shadows, I think that's an appropriate step. So what dealt 1 damage? Oh, the Salamander Monk attacked the Wing Lioness. Okay, so here's a gates thrown open to reset the board. I guess an Alert Swordsman looks pretty good here.
Yeah, he's got the Lightbringer, so this is like, is the Sembali thing a side action?
Yes.
Okay, so you kind of have to do it like
now. Yep.
Oh, I guess we're not doing it. Does he have the 2 shadows? Oh, he doesn't actually have 2 shadows. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. So that's fine.
Yeah. So Mass Wolf, what would be the last 2? Would it be a Steady Gaze?
It could be Shadow Guard. It could be what's his book that's left up? Mass Wolf.
Mass Wolf. So he's only going to spend 1. So the last 2 dice could be for the Shadow Guard then.
It could be Illusory, or it could be False Demon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be a False Demon book.
False Demon would be kind of saucy, actually. I think that's the best thing it could be.
So I do think you have an opportunity here to gift. And I guess you find out if it is a Shadow Guard, like,
you just like don't care, right?
Yeah, you just exhaust it,
because the thing has a root armor on it, so
right.
Yep. And we pulse the other Sally.
Yep.
Nope. We double pulse one of Sally's.
No, I think he's gonna exhaust.
I think I would hit the one that's no. I'm not sure. I might hit the one that's already exhausted.
Yeah, he chooses to not there, but I don't know all of Waves' deck, so I can't say whether or not. So here's a Mass Wolf. I'm sure this Mass Wolf's just going to attack straight into Sembali face here.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of value by putting 1 damage on Swordsman at this junction.
Right. With no damage pings outside of...
So if you're Waves...
It is a False Demon.
Yeah, if you're Waves, do do you meditate for like massive growth or something before you play this P Mage now?
No, I just play the P Mage. I mean, you can't exhaust the P Mage right now, although you can't protect it. Maybe. Oh, he has the Holy Relics.
Oh, he has a Holy Relics. Okay. I was now I don't like the card Holy Relics very much, so I don't know that drawing a Holy Relics is good, but
So he pings his own Salamander Monk to free up the board. That's kind of a cheeky play
fine.
from the Noah.
It just gives him an additional attacker. It gives him an efficient attacker to kill the Polarity Mage.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really want to send the demon into Polarity Mage, probably. I mean, I guess you could.
Wade's put Holy Relics in his deck specifically for Chaostheory here. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have given up the P Mage, I guess. It's hard to say, like...
What do you mean given up?
Well, like, take a game state like this, like right here. If you'd have just passed and acted like you were done playing other than the P Mage in hand, like, you now come into a place where you could play P Mage here.
You just want to start with a 1/1 and play next turn and have taken 3 damage instead of 1 damage?
Yeah, I think so, because then I have the target for the Sarasaur.
I guess Sarasaurus does make that a lot better to do it that way.
And you get to chew up one of these wolves, right? So you kill a wolf so that your opponent doesn't have all of this offensive on the start of his turn.
Yeah, it might have been better to hold it and just like take the risk that they could pass into you. Because it was much like, I guess even if they pass into you, you're pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I love Swifty into Lightbringer.
Oh yeah, that's
your opponent's like, oh damn it.
and now because you can Sarasaurus.
He's so swift.
Right? Yeah, because now you can Sarasaurus into this too, which is just like living that dream.
If it was me, I would just attack with Swifty, since your main action has to be attack. I don't think that making Sarasaur and attacking is better.
Really? Because I think you could go Sarasaurus into his demon, force the unit guard, or deal 1 point of damage to Noah. Can't Sarasaur? Why? Oh, 2 blue basics. Oh man, that's unfortunate.
Also, I just don't think it's as good. I think you should attack the demon with the Swifty. Get the PB guard probably, or you can attack Mass Wolf. It's about the same.
Yeah, they're really similar.
And I think Mass Wolf is actually slightly better because I think there's only 2 false demons.
Sure.
And it would be possible to strand him on 2 in play.
Well, Noah's battlefield is nearly full at this point.
But especially since like you have other Swifty right now.
Yeah.
You can still probably like do the Sarasaur Swifty thing this round very easily.
I do like the Light Swordsman in Sembali a lot, especially with Purify.
I think this deck's cool. Like,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Swift Messenger.
I've been really tinkering around with Sembali a lot lately. I think she's got some value, but I think you gotta have some board sweeps because you're definitely so far behind on board now. But how good would a Nature's Wrath here be? Like, it'd just be like insane, right?
It would be pretty good. Like, Nature's Wrath is always insane. Like, it's just never bad.
So I can't tell how much damage is on Sembali. 7, 10, 11, 12. 12, so 7 remaining. That's a big hit. But
yeah, and this is what the Mass Wolf decks do, right? Like, they just get some damage through.
Yeah.
The combination of Lightbringer, Mass Wolf is very powerful.
It is. And he's got 2 battlefield slots left, so he's still going to get some value this round.
Oh, yeah, he's far from locked out.
Yeah. Sure feels like it might be waves. I don't know. I mean, I can't say for sure. Like, I really like Swift mounts, but it's hard. It's hard to make them work.
It's a little tough in Sembali specifically because you're stretched on what you want your allies to do,
Right.
right? Because you have to have an ally for Sembali to target. You have to have an
Right.
ally for the mount to target, and you have to have an ally for the purify to target.
So are we gonna see a lioness into a massive growth on this lioness? Make a 6/6 stock?
I hope not. I don't think Massive Growth does anything at all this turn unless he thinks he can
Well,
actually kill him.
honestly, if your opponent doesn't make a unit here, you can get in for just 5 damage. Noah's life is not infinite; it's 16. So, there is a place where you can just kind of play more than them.
If you just send your guys now, you are very close to dying, right? He's got 7 left.
Yeah, but where's he going to come up with the 7 damage in 2 dice or in 2 battlefield slots? I think you definitely got to play Swifty into this, right? For sure.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a Purify. This Purify looks pretty good at taking care of this demon on your turn.
It's all right. Is Purify a main action? I don't actually know what that card does.
1 dice main action. Return an ally to your hand, and
does it have to be an untapped ally, or can you reset the Swifty?
No, you can reset the Swifty that's already exhausted.
Okay, that's cool. I think I would probably do that. I can't imagine that you're going to be doing better than. A Cerasor looks good here too.
Yeah.
I guess you can do both.
He shadow targeted the Cerasor. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you can side actions if he doesn't shadow target.
Yeah, after seeing the Swift Messenger, the shadow target on Cerasor is really good.
Mm-hmm. I think you got to purify that messenger back.
He wants to play.
I think he just had an opportunity to kill the demon there. I guess a wolf gets made in its stead. But wolf's still going to get made anyways.
Right. With 2 slots open, there was no way he was going to be stuck. Because what are you going to do? You're just going to let him 3 or 4 you just to tap him out? That doesn't sound good.
Right, but if you purify, then the wolf is the only attacker. Wolf and Salamander are the only attacker.
Like this is what I'm saying is that
he says he's angling for Master Growth double swing. Worried about Dancer, yeah. I mean, Dancer's a real threat for sure.
But what does Massive Growth do here? It's not going to get through. He's got guys in play.
Not much, actually, here. I think if you're Sembali, you take this hit.
He's attacking Lioness.
Mm-hmm.
So you think you guard for the Lioness?
Yeah, I think so. Because then you can go
hunt
the demon. That's
probably right.
You can go hunt their demon. They're almost out of books.
Well, you can still purify the demon.
Sure. Yeah, I mean you've got a million ways, but you can.
I think that's a fine guard.
You can then hunt one of these wolves. You got to start trying to regain battle.
This is like a turn where I would just go face and maybe cast Meteor.
Well, I mean honestly, it's not a bad plan. The 2 damage Meteor looks really, really juicy here.
You're gonna lose your
swordsman. You lose your swordsman on it. Yeah.
You could purify the swordsman, purify with the swordsman, and then play Meteor. Bounce the swordsman and play Meteor.
You got a swordsman in hand though.
Right. It's not actually necessary, but you could.
I think I'd give up on the Massive Growth. Yeah, because you could have purified back the sword. You could have purified back a swordsman or a
assuming that he doesn't block. Does double Massive Growth actually kill him? I guess it probably does, right? It's 7 twice is 14.
Yeah, and this demon is
Oh right,
yeah.
If he does it for 2, the root armor saves the.
Well, so you gave up the extra swordsman play by using the sympathy die. I would have probably used the second nature die.
Yeah, I don't think that second swordsman is good, but.
Well, depends.
Yeah, if it was me, I would be looking for a Meteor play this turn.
Swordsman is especially got 3 damage on it, right? Though, or is it only got 1
root armor on it? So that if he meteors for 2, it won't take anything.
That's true. So
it got crescendoed. Okay.
Crescendoed. Yeah, well that'll kill it. This is that hurts. Now I definitely Meteor, right? You just Meteor.
What's his last book? That's the Noah's Untapped book. read it.
I can't read it either. Is that the? It's not the Lightbringer. I know that's been used. Is it the Salamander Monk? Salamander Monk. Like Salamander Monk looks like it's going to be in trouble. Like
okay, so that's wolf.
yeah, unfortunately
the resolution is too small.
so I think
I require you guys to record in 4K from now on.
I think I'd make a massive growth lioness, and then you can meteor, right? Like
I don't know. Yeah,
well,
because you can't untap the lioness.
Sure, but you're gonna still get in for 6 here. I think yeah. I mean,
did we not have a sympathy dice left? Is that what?
no, he used the sympathy. That was the
Is
problem.
that
with
what
the Purify.
swordsman is? That's what swordsman costs, is sympathy divine.
Yeah, so like he had an opportunity to play a swordsman from hand if he would have used the Purify on the basic nature die instead.
He did get through with the molten gold. So
can't do Sonic, no sympathy. Cam. Sorry, I'm just playing from Wave side here when we talk about this.
Right. It's this is what happens when we have the open hands. So
there, his old swordsman. That's rough. Because now,
oofda.
Well, I think if I'm
you just like meteor, take 3, and then next turn frog ping the swordsman. Like that's
exactly right. You can't meteor because he had to roll up. So
oh god, you don't have a main action. Does your opponent pass? This would be the best pass in the history of Ashes if Noah passes there.
He does.
Yep. Okay.
He does indeed. That's rough.
I mean, oh, he drew to backtrack.
No dice for it though. I guess you can bet into the die for the backtrack.
He went first, so he gets to meditate.
The only issue with backtrack here is that your opponent's got a whole bunch of dice there.
Doesn't matter. Backtrack, even if they replay the knight, you still 3-for-1 them.
Sure.
Like,
but you can spend 3 dice here and clear his board, right? Like you just go meteor.
You can take 3 damage and do that because you can't meteor and frog ping in the same turn.
Sure.
So you would meteor and kill everything. Swordsman would attack because he sees the frog up, and then you'd get to ping it.
You gotta run accelerate waves. That's all I'm saying, dude.
Oh yeah, wolf, 5 damage actually because side action wolf.
Right.
That's which I believe was lethal actually. So
that is lethal. Yeah, because he's at 14.
But backtrack will be good this turn. Like anytime you backtrack a 3 dice unit, you're just like, God, it's so good.
Is the Noah's at 10, so he's got 6 life remaining? I mean, this is a tight game still. You have to be careful not to open yourself up, right?
He did manage to get the 4 damage out of his 2 dice with the massive growth. Yeah, and you definitely play Swifty into the Lightbringer every time. That's so obnoxious. Like, I mean, I know the Noah's doing fine anyway, but like, if you Lightbringer into this board of Lioness plus Swordsman, you're like, this Lightbringer is gonna be great. And they play a Swifty, and you're just like,
do you attack Swordsman with Swordsman and then Gift of Wings untap your Swordsman?
No. Why would you do that?
Because you're probably forced to.
I guess he can't really Phoenix. I guess he can't really PB guard.
Right. Like,
because I guess, well, maybe he can. Is there molten golds in his deck?
I don't know. That's the question.
Oh, there's not. Okay. So he can PB guard.
But you can divine power your swordsman. I guess you couldn't gift send, but you could divine power your swordsman, attack swordsman, and actually kill their swordsman unless they.
Well, yeah, you just crack for 4. I actually don't hate that. I think that's pretty good. I would probably just do it.
So I think he's gonna get particle shielded here. Fate reflection instead.
Yeah, ouch. Even worse because now he has to attack with one of his big guys.
Right.
That. What I would have done is not spent the divine power. I would have attacked swordsman with swordsman, and then nature pinged it. Though I guess if I know he has fate reflection, you shouldn't do that. You should do
Yeah.
Divine Power instead.
Yeah, but he could have Particle Shield. I think Chaostheory wins.
He doesn't have
Shield.
Particle Shield.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay.
No. Particle Shield, like, I think is a dope card, but
it'd look really good here if you ended up Divine Power.
Yeah, and Wave says he even has a Divine Die on his Royal Charm.
Yep.
So
no,
it's free.
It's free.
I didn't even notice that because I never play that card.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're just gonna watch Lioness eat a wolf.
I think that definitely would have been a good attack because.
Well, this is lethal now, right? Because Chaos can just go ahead and
make. He's got a backtrack, right? Or does he?
Yeah, but
he's got a wolf to make.
Yeah, so he can get in for 5 regardless, even if you backtrack this.
He only has to do 5. Yeah, he's way dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good game, Waves, man. That was fun.
He's gonna play the backtrack anyway, just to feel good about himself.
For the lulz, like here you go. have your swordsman.
That card is really good.
Yeah.
I have played it more and more. Like in decks that I have time, I've just like started playing 2 backtracks in every one of them, and it's just you draw 1 or 2 every game, and you play 1 every game, and it's always a blowout.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as good in this where your opponent still has dice to make swordsman again, right? But
it doesn't matter because the only time that would matter is if they in his 5 cards and 2 untapped books that he couldn't spend his 10 dice.
Sure.
Like just because it's a swordsman again, he could just have another swordsman in his hand.
Sure.
As long as he has 3 dice worth of things to do, the backtrack is great. If he has no cards in hand and swordsman mana up, then sure, it's like less good. But I don't know, it's so good, man. To get a 3 for 1.
That was a fun match. I enjoyed watching that match.
Both those decks are cool. Like a lot of weird stuff happened that I was not able to predict, even with open hands.
German's making fun of me in Discord tonight. He goes, the mildest take at Shufflebus Jesse has ever had was tonight on stream. Noah doesn't have infinite life. He has 16.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Hey.
You got to be right once in a while.
At some point, you got to be right? And if you're not, then if I'm wrong, I don't want to be right. That's all there is to it. If this is wrong, I don't want to be right. So, yeah, I mean, look, I played... Chaos Theory played back a version of this list in Kansas City, right? And I played against him with my 3-book Noah. That was also
Noah
on
was
Gates.
A lot grindier.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that we've seen are hyper aggressive with like the commander start and stuff. This one just has the Lightbringer Wolf interaction, but then it just has grindy stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It's a cool take.
In that Kansas City tournament, like when I played the Gates double Lightbringer, it was always good. I mean, always good. And I do think that Sembali running P-Mage is a really good counter to Illusion's Fade Away, right?
That's always the best P-Mage you can do is kill Fade Away.
And I think with P-Mage, P-Mage is getting better as this game goes on, just simply because there are more good alterations you want to pull from your own pile. And Illusion's getting a little bit better, I think, just because of Fate Reflection, to the point where there are some Illusion stuff going in, and so, fadeaways are more prevalent, and so a P-Mage to counter your opponent's fadeaways, and a P-Mage, if your opponent doesn't have fadeaway, to bring back your Inflames, or...
it definitely got better when they printed 2 new good...
Yeah, I wish hunting weapons was better. Have you found a deck for hunting weapons?
No, I think it's too narrow.
It seems like it'd be good, right?
Well, so this is the thing about hunting weapons. On like a Raptor Herder or a Polarity Mage, or I guess Polarity Mage specifically is a little better because the Polarity Mage has the availability to have like bought it back for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're playing it on like a Raptor Herder or a Fire Archer or whatever, it's not good.
Right. It's got to go on a big ally, right?
Right. But it's not good on the big allies because the big allies are like the ability that it gives makes cards like Fire Archer or Raptor Herder or whatever a lot better. the ability that it has makes like Hammer Knight or Swordsman a little better.
Yeah, but
So,
what about like the middling ground? What if we were to looking at Reaping Angel as a 3/2 that could ping for
well, I would
one?
like to play a card that's playable.
Well, Reaping Angel's
So,
playable. Why is it not?
because it's bad. Isn't it a 1/2 for 2
No, it's a 2/2 for 2.
with like a very irrelevant ability?
Yeah, its ability lets you put an ally in your discard pile. River Skull. Kaya says River Skull. Yeah, I mean certainly. Um,
I think that it's fine. It's just it's the only time that you actually get value out of it to the same value that you got by is if you kill a good 1 life unit with it the turn you attack. So there are situations where you'll get your value out of it where like, and it's usually something like you play Raptor Herder, your opponent plays Raptor Herder, you play Hunting Weapons, attack.
so here's some potential 2 costs. I'm gonna basically rule out Shield Mage here because I don't think you ever want to attack with a Shield Mage and exhaust it. But you've got Iron Worker as a 2/2 that could attack ping for 1, which is probably not terrible. You could definitely put it on Temple, like Temple Elder's bad as a 2/2, doesn't do anything, but Flock Shepherd is probably not terrible.
Temple Elder's better than Reaping Angel.
You think so?
Yes.
Why?
It's a 2/2 with text on it. Reaping Angel's a 2/2 that's like not.
Well, I think Reaping Angel's probably okay in Xander, right?
Oh wait, sorry, not Temple Elder. Temple Elder also has no text. They're the
Yeah, I
exact
was gonna
same.
say. I'm like, so they're going, huh?
I'm thinking of
Jungle Warrior,
something.
Jungle Warrior, yeah, the one that puts an inheritance token on it.
That one like is okay.
Yeah,
I'm not excited about it, but it's okay.
Obviously, you're not going to use it with Rosefire Dancer because Rosefire Dancer is just for distract.
Right. So, but you don't need to name the units.
I know. I'm just going through the list.
The theory, right? But it doesn't matter because all you're doing is constructing a knight at the cost of 2 cards when you could play a knight that only costs 1 card.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but
when you draw a knight, you know what the knight does. It's always the same, and it's usually pretty good. If you draw the 2 dice unit, it's okay. If you draw the hunting weapons by itself, it's awful.
Sure.
Like that's the issue is we're talking about like the cost of you drawing into your hand when it's turned off. So if you're playing these 2 dice units just so you can play hunting weapons, don't play a knight.
Well, particularly, I guess where I was going with it is I think it's probably pretty good with the 3 life 2 dice units. So there's only a couple of those. But there's Pain Shaman, which has some synergy with hunting weapons.
So we'll use Pain Shaman as an example. And you can extrapolate this example from Pain Shaman to everything else. So I'm playing Nature Class to make a 2/3 that pings when it attacks.
And pings.
Is that better than Hammer Knight?
I don't know. I mean, Hammer Knight's not guaranteed to ping.
No, but it's much more guaranteed to do something when you draw it because you like if you just draw the Pain Shaman, you're right, it's okay. It's just a Pain Shaman. If you just draw the hunting weapons, it's bad. Like that's the issue. It has nothing to do with like the little Voltron you actually make. Because when we're talking about units in play, sure, 2/3 that has a come into a play ability and when it attacks ping something is good. If that was a single card, it would be fringe playable at 3 dice, right?
So Wave says swing 1 damage could be nice as a Suedo bypass with stuff like Ember Root and Fighting Spirit. Yeah, I've not found a Fighting Spirit deck that I like, Waves.
But you can't put it on an Ember Root.
No, he's talking about just the Ember Root itself getting a status token in whatever way you give Ember Root a status token, and Ember Root doing its own Ignite without the need for
so again,
putting hunting weapons on
again, we're just talking about like assembling all these pieces that you have to draw in a specific order that dilutes your deck to where if you draw them not in that order for the remainder of the game, the draws become awkward. Like ceiling of okay, floor of terrible.
I don't think I agree with that completely, but that's fair. I mean, I think you are allowed to say that, but Inflame is a good card. And so
Inflame is a good card because it's turned on much more. Essentially every deck has units in play because of books. So because
Kaya adds a good point here too. I'm just gonna talk about Kaya's because I mean It says the upside of a construct a knight method is you don't have to pay for hunting weapons until it's used, so you won't get blown out by Fester, Fear, etc. Clue
I
asks,
agree
what knight
with
would go great with hunting weapon? I don't think any knight goes great with hunting weapon, Clue. Kaya says, but I still haven't found a use for it.
right, Kaya, Kyla, that is a good argument where you don't have to invest your additional dice and additional card to the board until you're going to use them, which is good in Ashes. Like that's why I think Inflame is good, because it's a side action that you can do and then use immediately. But it's just because it is structured in a way that it only hits allies, your deck has to have a million allies in it for it to be turned on enough that it's playable.
Stormwind Sniper might not be a bad choice for it either, but
well, that was the next thing I was going to get to, is that I know Red King had been playing the Stormwind Sniper Voltron deck, where he like plays Stormwind Sniper, plays Root Armor, next turn plays Hunting Weapons, attacks, and he makes this like 3/2 armor 1 can't be targeted thing. You have to remember that it is targetable once it attacks.
Right.
So he was doing like Sembali stuff with it also.
Sure.
So
I mean, you could back that up with a Flute Mage or something too if you really wanted to protect it again.
Right. So we're talking about a 6 dice unit.
Sure. I mean, I agree that I don't think that particular use in is the best use of it.
I think that that's closer to being good than putting it on a standard bearer.
Maybe.
Because it's at least defensible that the thing will survive. Like, the thing that Inflame does, if we're using that as a comparison, like the biggest thing it does is that because it hits bear, because it hits all the conjurations, whatever, it is turned on much more of the time in almost every deck. Like there are going to be some decks where it's about the same because they're all ally decks.
Yeah.
But I know there was a discussion in Discord today even that was talking about like how many decks could play only allies and no books. And the answer was kind of none. So
well, that was my argument.
That means that
other people in the community don't agree with me on that.
Well, I agree with you.
Okay.
I think that like the closest thing to an only ally deck we've ever seen was Matt Bauer's like Lightbringer only deck.
Sure.
Because the Lightbringer is barely an ally, or barely a conjuration. It's mostly like a tap this book, tap your guy kind of thing.
I do think that season
and that was Matt Bauer's piloting a deck to 3/3 or something.
I think season 1 deck list. Let me see if I can find that really fast here.
So essentially, the point that I'm making is just that Inflame is always going to be turned on a lot more. And I'm not saying you should play Inflame in every deck. I think it's very good.
I've been playing it in a lot of decks.
It needs a specific situation, like it needs a specific deck build to work, because you do always have to have a unit in play essentially for it to be good.
Sure.
And then the other thing I'll say is that I just think +1 attack and threatening is actually a better ability than +1 attack and shoot a guy. Like I literally think the text on Inflame is better than the text on Hunting Weapons.
Oh, I think threatening is incredible. Like I really do.
Because it gives you this like I know Hunting Weapons has the potential to like get a large guy through a 1/1 blocker, and it is good against specifically Lightbringer, because it lets you like get extra value to your attack, because the Lightbringer will always be in play and you always have had to attack that turn. But moreover, because of how threatening works, it always taps their guy minimum. And it lets you leverage more than 1 damage into the battlefield, which Hunting Weapons does not.
Sure.
And
I was trying to find, I'm pretty sure there was a James Ally toolbox list from one of the seasons.
It still had like Ceresaurus in season 1.
Right. It only had Ceresaurus though. And I didn't see that.
But when you have a Ceresaurus becomes a big part of your battlefield presence. Like that is a deck that uses a conjuration.
Sure. I'm not arguing that at all. I'm just saying like it was pretty close. I think one of the things that we talked about in that discussion today on Discord was really about like whether or not one book was sufficient. And I'm not sure that it is, but I mean, so
I'm sure that there are decks out there that come close to being like tier 1.5 that only have one book. You know, there's
here it is.
enough
It was Philly's
consistency.
list. It was Philly's list from season 1. It had a Lightbringer and a Sarah Swords. Two books. It did a Chant of Revenge for Burn, but I mean, it makes sense with allies.
Yeah, I assume that like when they're saying no books, I thought they just meant Conjuration. If you're saying actually no ready spells, that definitely can't exist. Like then you're just
4, 6.
like go play Magic cards because you're not. You know what I mean? Like you're just
there's 14
cards and playing them. You're not.
There's 14 allies in Philly's season 1 James list. So I mean that's a pretty heavy ally density. Like what I was arguing in that conversation today was Waves that says, I've been wondering if hunting weapons plus Frostfang to try to get through to face once or twice around might be a thing. It might be a thing in Sembali. I mean, I think that's a possibility.
And again, Sembali is good with it because you get second trigger.
Mm-hmm.
But this card, like when you think about what it really does,
mm-hmm.
and you think about Inflame existing, and whether Inflame is better than it or not, like on the big units, the +1 attack is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in a meta where we've gone to where the 1 life units are even less prevalent than before. Like hunting weapons is good into the 1 life unit meta, right? If that is ever a thing again.
Sure.
But now we have a bunch of 0/2s. So like it has less actual targets in play to hit. 1 damage is still fine.
I mean, one of my favorite plays is to inflame a Gilder and just attack and force my opponent to exhaust my Gilder. Well, I exhaust my Gilder, but it also like exhausts their unit.
Right, and that's like that's fine, and that's the worst mode of it. That's why I think Inflame is good.
Sure.
Because that play is totally fine. You essentially just turn it into a Blood Chains when you do that.
Sure.
The thing about hunting weapons is like, what are you doing? Like you put it on a big unit and it does allow it allows your swordsman to kill my swordsman, which is good. But Inflame already does that, right? Like any +1 attack thing does that. So I don't know that hunting weapons like fills that slot.
Yeah, but
better
I mean,
than anything that already existed.
But if you attack, like if you have Inflame with Threatening and you a swordsman, let's just use Sonic Swordsman with Inflame, for example, and you attack your opponent's swordsman, you turn off Threatening at that point. They can still take a PB guard at that point, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
But how is that any different than hunting weapons?
It's not.
Right. That's what I'm saying is like I wasn't using that to say that Inflame on a knight to attack a knight is good. I'm just saying that
but what you do get out of hunting weapons is a chance
I'm trying to like talk myself into a situation where hunting weapons is good enough, and I'm not getting there because if it's on a 3 dice unit, it doesn't make it better enough.
Sure.
If it's on a 2 dice unit, I would rather play a 3 dice unit in my deck and just draw it instead of having to draw 2 pieces to make a unit I want. If it's on a 1 dice unit, you're just 2-for-1ing yourself unless they have a 1 life unit to ping off, and then you're 2-for-2ing.
Well, I think there are more situations than we could discuss in this particular time sequence, but one of the things that I think is important to note is Salamander Monk is still widely played, and it does feel like a pretty decent way to sort of deal with the Salamander Monk to a certain degree.
The only time that it's better than a nature ping in that situation, well, I guess, is if one of the 2 ways is if Salamander is the only thing in play. So you put it on your fire. I'm gonna use Fire Archer because that's like the most generic unit I can think of that actually sees play. So I have a Fire Archer. You have a Salamander Monk. Right. So 1/1, just 1/1, whatever. I put it on my 1/1. You have a Salamander Monk. I attack, ping the monk. You can't block. I get to face for 2. So I have done 1 to you and 1 to a monk. So it's 1 damage to PB better than a nature ping.
Or you take and make your herder into a 2/1, attack into Owl or attack into Cobra, which was common. Force the PB guard early and ping the Salamander away.
Right, but again, that doesn't like make any difference.
It does,
You know
because the
that
PB with the PB guard down,
no,
that
no, no, no,
you've
no,
got a
no,
whole
no.
round of play left, man.
It there's not
I
you
think
can
making advantageous attacks that force PB guards early are huge wins.
right when it doesn't cost you a card in hand. Like we're
What difference does that make? Like they're
because if
very,
I just play a second unit, I can like pressure PB guard the same. Like
but now you're down a dice. Now
I
you're
was down a
down.
dice anyway. I have to spend a dice on hunting
Okay,
weapons.
so let's just use the 1/1 example. Okay, so you let's say you go, okay, yes, because the hunting weapons has to go on an ally, you play fire archer, you get point of damage on the PB, great. You opponent has a salamander monk in play, opponent has a cobra in play. Their cobra is going to attack your fire archer. That's what's going to happen, right?
Sure.
So you either have to PB guard or your fire archer is going to die anyways.
Right.
Okay,
How does
so
hunting weapons have any effect on that?
well, but my point is though is when you start talking about situations where you just want to make another 1/1 unit, you may not actually be able to make another 1/1 unit sufficiently. And to be fair, like the O2s, I think it's way worse to commit 2 units to killing an O2 because really you probably have to commit 3 because of PB guard.
Right, but you're much more likely to keep a card in play going into the next round, playing multiple units than you are playing a unit with a hunting weapons on it.
I'm not disagreeing, but there's still, even in like a 4-book setup, there's still probably 4 dice each round that you can do something with. Hunting
Well,
weapons
you
is not.
definitely can't play hunting weapons in 4 book.
Well, sure. I mean, I have some 4 books that do have some allies. I mean, like raptor herders and things like that in them. I mean, I'm not saying it's the best place for it, but I'm just talking about like scenarios here. I don't think it's irrelevant to get a free ping. Like there's value in that, and it also sort of forces
You're
your
right.
opponent.
I mean, it the card hunting weapons, you're able to set up scenarios where it is, I don't know, probably as much as like 50% more powerful than a standard nature ping. I'm just throwing numbers out.
Sure.
I don't know what it actually means. I assume that you could at least get an additional half out of hunting weapons than you could out of a nature ping if you're able to set up that stuff.
Waves,
What
I
I'm
think.
saying,
Yeah.
the
Go ahead.
problem with it is that especially in a first 5, like your 1 dice 1 card for what potentially could go very, very wrong is not the kind of thing you want to start. And then if it's not the kind of thing you want to start, your deck has to be built in a way where it's turned on when you draw it. So that means
Mm-hmm.
that you're playing 12, 14 allies in your deck, and you're playing a matchup where you want pings that have to be better than having a Gilder book or playing a nature dice. And I don't think that all of that together, like we're talking about like this extremely narrow piece of pie of the meta that would be good against, to where like why
I don't know, man. I'm not.
it's
I'm with you. It's probably very
if
likely
hunting
that.
weapons, and here's something that's interesting is if hunting weapons cost a time dice, if hunting weapons cost a divine dice, we'd be having a totally different conversation,
Sure, I agree
because
with that.
nature, as we've talked about
It's just
in
full.
infinitum, like you have so many playables
Mm-hmm.
that there's no room for cards like this. Like
Yeah, that's interesting.
you know what's way better than a hunting weapons? A nature's wrath is a
Sure.
very similar thing.
Oh
Like
yeah.
uh
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think I wonder, and Cam does add hunting weapons, sniper. Yeah, we talked about the sniper getting hunting weapons, and Red King, I think, had this on a podcast, one of his podcasts, his reaction podcast, a couple of episodes back. And
and he went super deep. Like he was
right,
making 5 or 6 dice units out of it.
he was all in on this like plan to make a Voltron sniper, and that's fine. I think
And
that's fine.
I played against that deck, and I've lost that deck. I mean, the deck is it's good in closed deck lists because you don't know what you're running into, and if you don't have real answers to it, you can't do anything. But like we're talking about Inflame. I just played an Inflame and it killed the thing because you can't protect it from Inflame.
Well, that's what I was going to say here. So Clue says, yeah, I agree with Neil. That first 5 is a rough call. However, a reasonable ping is completely reasonable for 1 die. It should get its value the round you play it. Waves adds, maybe hunting weapons is an end of round type card. All of those are probably valid play patterns.
Absolutely, Waves. I think all of the unit alterations, like the aggressive unit alterations, are better later in the round.
Yeah.
The ones and this is just another statement about Inflame, kind of, but and it's a little bit about hunting weapons also. Because the thought process behind them being good late in the round is that you have a higher chance of knowing when they're safe to get your value out of it that round and then still have it be in play next round. And even if you don't get to attack with it again, it's in play. So like we'll use like Holy Relics as an example. So I play a Holy Relics late round. I get attacked with my pumped guy. We untap, we go to the next round. You still have to worry about that Holy Relics in play for me. Even if I don't get to attack with it, you need to make that a priority, like a bigger priority than you already would have. Hunting weapons and Inflame both actually are better. Like, you would get that same value out of them late round. So it's still good to play them late round. But one thing that makes them, I think, a step above these previous aggressive alterations is that they're also okay early round, because you do get the side action, you do get to attack with it, and you do get your value, to Clue's point, the turn that you play it. So the best of both worlds is play it late round, you get your value, and then you keep it.
So you said hunting weapons. I mean, obviously, I think I know the answer, but I just want to bring this up for you said if hunting weapons would have been in Diviner time, we'd be having a different conversation. Why do you think then that we don't see more power through? Do you just think because the 1 damage on PB doesn't matter? The 1 damage power through just
because the only thing that makes Inflame and hunting weapons good is that, like,
it plays to the board, right?
It plays to the board.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Totally why. Yeah, I mean, power through.
So do you think if power through was Aftershock instead of Overkill, it would have been a better card?
100%.
Yeah,
Aftershock's just a better ability than Overkill.
Yep.
I mean,
that's what I think too. That's what, like, in my testing with power through, that 1 damage to the PB doesn't really matter, right? Like,
right. Power through checks all the same boxes that I said about hunting weapons, where on a 3 dice unit, it doesn't make it enough better.
Right.
On a 2 dice unit, you don't want to draw them separate. On a 1 dice unit, you're just setting yourself up to get 2 for 1.
Sure.
And you know that's true, the 2 for 1 with the power through, because it's not possible to get an extra card out of that.
Right.
It may be possible if you play it late round, like we were talking about how they're better late round. To get an additional dice out of it, to like run your Frostfang into a Knight or whatever. But
Inflame does counter the Voltron Sniper for sure. Yeah, because Cam adds Inflame counters Voltron Sniper. Yep. So my best experience with Inflame has been on Ruby Cobra. That's been my best experience. By a million miles.
Good on the big toughness guys. Like, I mean,
because it turns Cobra into a 2/2, and it mills a card, and in many cases, if it's set up well, you're exhausting and killing your opponent's Gilder or killing their Owl, or there's just
right. And it's just, the ceiling is so high when you get to like force your bear to kill their bear and not die, or like they set up their big huge board of dumb stuff with Shepherd. And you like make their Shepherd block, stuff like that. Like it just, and it gets the Voltron Sniper. Like it fits a part of the game that we don't have a lot of cards that attack that part of the game.
Sure.
So one of the things that I always talk about is, in order for a card to be playable, it has to be very powerful, it has to be very unique. And we only have one other instance of threatening in the game.
Grave Knight.
And the closest things that you can come up with that I think operate in a similar vein to Inflame is obviously Grave Knight, though it's a dice investment. I think it's kind of similar to Lightbringer, and it's kind of similar to Hunter's Mark, all of which are cards that I think are in the very top echelon of power level. And obviously, Inflame not nearly as good as any of those cards I named, but it's cheap enough. It's turned on enough of the time that it doesn't hurt you when you draw it when it's bad.
Right.
And when it's good, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first time I played it, I just had it in a deck, and you were like, "Hey, let's test this deck," and you were playing like Triple Night Blink start or whatever.
Right.
And I was playing a bunch of removal spells, but I knew you had the I guess I was playing Fester, not double removal spell. So I knew that you had the Golden Veil, plus I knew you had additional knights. So the only thing I could do was like go Hammer Knight, Master Vampire, Inflame.
Mm-hmm.
And you dealt with my Hammer Knight or whatever, but then my like inflamed Master Vampire, even though it didn't use the threatening, still ate your knight before you got to blink it, and then I won the first 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of example is this piece of the game that Inflame hits that no other card would have hit.
Right.
And
I agree. Yep. And Master Vampire in particular, I think with an Inflame is pretty nutso.
Right. It's essentially the exact same as Power Through or hunting weapons on the Master Vampire, right? Like you would rather it be hunting weapons on Master Vampire specifically.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make up for the difference in when you draw it from your deck and you don't have specifically Master Vampire, you would much rather have Inflame almost every other time.
Vamp with hunting weapons is probably pretty solid.
It's okay. I mean, it's not a percentage enough better that I want to put it in my deck.
You know what's probably the best
when I don't have the vamp.
You know what's probably the best to put on the vamp from that is actually the spark from Lulu.
Oh yeah, spark is a jillion times better than hunting weapons.
Because the vamp's gonna live, right? And unless your opponent can like actually kill your vamp right then and there, like you're in a position where you can just go, okay, cool, like I'm gonna spark this other thing over here later if I want to, if I need to. Otherwise I still got a 4/4.
Right, and it doesn't cost you a card in hand, it doesn't cost you a card in deck building. That's the most important part.
Yep.
Like you just always have that available to you.
Waves adds Flash Strike. Yeah, I mean you can definitely run Flash Strike in that scenario as well, just to get the quick strike.
What do you need to Flash Strike?
Well, just to get the quick strike.
Or doesn't already kill.
Takes no damage. One time dice take no damage. That's not irrelevant, right? When you if you need to make your opponent.
It's irrelevant a large portion of the time though, because we're essentially talking about only against 3 dice units.
I tried to play.
Have recover too.
I tried to play Flash Strike with Ember Root Lizard because I thought that would be good. Like you spark the lizard, you attack, get your ignite, and then have Flash Strike. It just never came together right.
Right. If you want to talk about Flash Strike for a minute, I will. I've had some success with it lately.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting card. I don't think you should ever say I want to Flash Strike X.
Right.
Like you should not be like, I have this card in my deck because it's good to Flash Strike it. That is not right. What you should have is essentially have an aggressive swing style deck.
Yep.
That already has the status counter synergies in it.
Right.
Whether that's Lulu, Spark, or Ember Root, or Hopper, or even like Stallion, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you just play Flash Strike as like a 2 of, so that you get some random cheeky combat wins against opposing swing decks.
But only sometimes. It all depends on how well they block, right? Like it's so easy to block around it in such a way where it doesn't make any sense for you to actually play it. I don't think it's good in
open deck list.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying even in testing, just like throwing it out on Ash Techie and playing, like I've just not had. Just Camp says, I have a jank deck where I got a Salamander to 5 attack. If all the stars align, it gets a 12 with a secret door. Okay. Cool. That's neat.
Yeah, the thing about Flash Strike, like that's why I think it's a 2 of. I don't think I ever want to run 3.
Yeah, I've been
normally
there.
It's just like one time a game, there's an opportunity where you get to attack with 3 or 4 guys. Usually 3, 4 is like a lot.
Right.
But hoppers make that kind of weird, so you can get in with more. But
hoppers are so fun.
I agree. I think hoppers are very cool. And very good with Flash Strike specifically because they get to 3, which is like kind of a good break point for a 1 dice unit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I played a game. I don't remember who I was playing against yesterday or the day before, and I got to Flash Strike I got to Flash Strike in the middle of the game for a combat victory that I wouldn't have won otherwise. And then I got to end the game exactly by attacking with 5 units. 2 got blocked and then Flash Striked one of them to do Xaxes.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the very last attack of the game, it is good to use it as a 2 damage spell.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly,
Clue says me. That was me. Boo.
Yeah, that was a really good game, Clue. Like you were going to kill me if I didn't win that top of round attack.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how many games of Ashes come down like that, though.
The thing about Flash Strike is that I still feel like the time card pool is stretched.
Yes.
Where we just, because it's so small, like this isn't like before when Jericho was printed and I felt bad about playing time just because I didn't have enough cards. Now you have enough cards, but sometimes you end up with like, 2 or 3 slots left in your deck. So cards like Flash Strike go in those slots.
There are 17 time only cards or cards that can be used with time dice in the pool right now. 17. So when we put that in,
that includes the like Gorn rocks and stuff that are double colored, right?
No, that's just time only.
Oh, okay.
Gorn rock did not get into this mess.
And usually like the issue is when I'm building decks that are not time nature or time charm that have the overlap cards, then you run into the situation I'm talking about. Because like the deck that I played against Clue was.
So if you include the overlap cards, you've got Sunshell Sentry and Gorn Rock, it turns it to 19.
Okay, yeah. And
so
I mean,
I was just looking at the. I was just going to compare.
It is like an overlap card.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. But
what I was going to say is like the deck that I was testing against Clue, that he talked about just now. It has 2 illusion dice, 3 divine dice, and 5 time dice or something. Some split kind of like that. I don't even remember. But it doesn't have nature or charm.
Right.
So because the illusion, like because the deck I was trying to build didn't touch into those other colors that are super, super deep, you end up playing a lot of time dice, and then you have to play cards like Backtrack or like Flash Strike. These like the closest thing that time has to just being like the generic good cards, if that makes sense.
Right. So the 17 does include parallel costs. Cam asked me if it included parallel costs. So yes, it does. It doesn't include the cards that had multicolor costs. For whatever reason, Ashes.live doesn't pop those up when you just select time filter. But I mean, when I count ceremonial, just looking at ceremonial in the same filter, there's 24. So there's 7 more cards in the ceremonial pool alone that are just ceremonial only cards. When we go to charm, like there's a ton here.
Here, this is the list I played with Clue that I thought the Flash Strikes were good in. If you want to share it, I don't know if this deck is actually good, but it was fun to play anyway.
There are 29 charm cards in the pool right now.
Pick one of the colors that wasn't in an expansion recently. So pick like Sympathy. How many Sympathy cards are there? Or Illusion, that's fine.
$32 Sympathy cards in the pool.
Beast Warrior has a alternate cost?
No.
Like a parallel cost?
Beast Warrior?
What am I looking at?
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's Adrenaline Rush that is like right below it.
Yeah.
I was looking at this stream and
yeah, Beast Warrior does not. Okay, so let me grab this list here.
Yeah, I don't think this deck is necessarily good, but like this is an example of the kind of deck I think that Flash Strike is good in.
Well, okay, so I watched you play this the other day. I was wondering about this deck. I didn't watch the whole game because I had to run, but
this is the game that me and Clue were talking about that I won on that top round attack.
Because you like attacked with like 5 1/1s at one point in the round, and like only had one more battlefield slot, and I didn't know how you were going to clear your own board. I'm guessing you must have had a meteor in that game.
I'd round 2 meteor, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like sitting there, I'm like, I don't know how you're like gonna clear your own board to like make more units at this point, because both your immortal commanders were already in the discard at
Well,
that point.
I got absolutely trounced by because obviously in this Ashteki testing game, we were playing closed deck
Mm-hmm.
list. So he was playing Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I got to get him to Noah my like Lightbringer or something so I can abundance. And he just like goes first turn 3-eyed owl.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it, because I had started abundance Lightbringer Time Hopper Commander.
I think I would have probably pitched the
And
hopper just because you get more chances to draw it off abundance. But
I pitched the commander because
yeah.
like I so what happened was he played the book, I played abundance, and then he shadow targeted the abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And then he owled me. And I hadn't even considered the
So how do you fight an owl? Like Lightbringer?
you play in an open deck list and you start Lightbringer instead. And that's what I should have done was I should have gone first turn Lightbringer. And he would have shadow targeted it then. Like the combination of owl shadow target just like
It's pretty brutal.
annihilated me. But I should have played Lightbringer because it would be owl. I play Lightbringer. He shadow targets,
Did he go
makes an
first?
owl. Then I get to play abundance. And even though I discarded commander, I at least get to do the abundance, like to get cards to play.
For sure.
And I did end up winning the game. But I just got crushed in the first 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, what I see in this deck is I don't know how well you handle a knight, like a knight start. I mean, maybe you start backtrack. I don't know, but like
Use race. Like I don't think this deck is actually great.
Sure,
but it worked better than I thought it was going to, even into the face of like the crazy shadow target
I
owl
think it was
start.
Clue the other day that I played, or maybe it was Asterix, or I'm not sure who it was now, that had an Echo deck that was playing just double knight open with Flute Mage, and that. I mean, I dealt with the first night, but I couldn't deal with the second night, and that Flute Mage double knight just wrecked me. Like it's hard.
Yeah, I mean these are the dangers of the closed deck list games, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you know, I knew Echo was probably going to be on a night. Like Echo's always on a night, right? Just
right.
So I started a Fester and I ping Fester the first night away, but then they just went ahead and played second night, and I was like, okay, well, second night I can deal with. But then it was like, oh, well, there's the Flute Mage, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm dead. Like, never gonna get to do anything now, you know, and that you know, it is what it is, but you know, a bunch of weenie units have a hard time with those big night opens like that, unless you've got hard removal plans. So
Yeah, I mean it depends on the night, but like you just try to race them, I assume. Again, this was more an example of what I think Flash Strike is good in, because this deck is very attack heavy.
mm-hmm.
Like you're only attacking, you're like never blocking or doing anything else. And the Flash Strikes just make their blocks really bad. And then,
Right.
like I said, at the end of the game, I got in for 2 extra damage with one.
I do think it's interesting because one of my takeaways from closed deck testing versus open deck testing is I think open deck games are actually closer. I think there's more games.
Yeah, obviously, like you knowing what you have to play around makes it easier to play tight.
Yeah.
And it allows you to play answers that are better and more efficient. So
assuming your deck has them. But I think that one of the things
it allows you to build decks with answers, like having one of certain things that like you normally wouldn't be able to put in a closed deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just really possible in closed that you just can't guess right, and you're gonna be wrong, and it's fine to be wrong by like one card.
Some percent of the time you will lose because you miss your first 5. That's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Like there's no like that's part of the game.
Wave said, personally, I love open deck games almost to the extent where I don't even want to play closed deck. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm with you, Waves. Like that's maybe it's a crutch, but
it's just different. It's not like one is better than the other. It's just different.
Yeah.
Because you can't think that like the only line of thinking is that and I think this is not a good line of thinking if you're trying to get better or like play the game in general, is like that you're worse than your opponent at picking first fives.
Sure.
And that may be true, like if somebody's more experienced, but like they are in the same boat you are. Like it's not like they know your deck and you don't know theirs. So
right. I think closed deck does benefit from very proactive first five plans.
Well, it only does that to the extent that like, how do I put this? Proactive plans are safer in closed deck because you can start a very safe first five, and usually those are proactive. Like, it like just like saying I'm going to start in a backtrack in my first five. That's
right.
like not the card you want to start in closed deck tournaments or games, because if you guess right, like if you put them on a first five that includes a knight or whatever, and you start your backtrack, you're like, yeah, this is great. I get to win now, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
But it's harder to make that call.
So Inquisitor says, I think both have an appeal, but I prefer open list formats. Yeah. Wave says, yeah, I hate getting hit with super cheesy aggressive stuff, which is way easier to pull off in closed deck.
Right. So it's like, it's not that one is better than the other. It's just that it's a risk reward thing where if you have this like, a deck full of answers and your answers are good, like, and and you're good at like calling your opponent's first five or coming close, your ceiling is very high. You're taking a risk by putting in these silver bullets, but when the silver bullets hit, they kill the werewolf or whatever. So it becomes, I don't know, it's just a different way to start the game. And obviously it's the way that they intend the game to be started from a design point of view, because it does open up a larger card pool, I believe, to play. Since you can have some like crafty kind of like starts that are all in the first five, and like because they're so wonky, you like get some random wins that way. I mean, they're not random,
right?
Like you built your deck that way on purpose, and you knew that one of your avenues to victory was that my opponent's never going to call this first five. They have to have very specific cards to beat me. So this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And
so Clue says, open helps anticipating play lines and watching them unfold. It makes you a better player during close by recognizing similar setups. I agree.
Right. I 100% agree with that.
Just Camp says, I like the reaction surprises. I'm assuming this is for close, but not the uncountable surprise first five, which would be also close. Shafts comes in first comment from Shafts tonight. I prefer rotisserie draft where our opponent can surprise you a bit in which cards they've included, especially where a late draft pick is great in a situation. I love draft, Shafts. We're going to have some draft to talk about next year for an actual tournament, so stick around.
And that's, again, just another way to play the game.
Yep.
And they're all valid. They're, and they all take a lot of the same skill set, but some different. So
Just Cam says, mix the two. I look at a deck to see if Owl's in there, and then I play like it was closed. Inquisitor adds, I do hate getting blindsided by jank that will beat you the first time, but will almost never win a second game versus someone who has already seen it in action. I added the already here, but that's basically what he's saying. Shaft says, rotisserie is semi-open as you are limited in what you can include, but there's more variety in which you can build with. And then Cam adds, close made the Hydra. Yeah, I mean, look, bottom line is I think open deck lists eliminate a lot of the surprise factor of some of the chainless cards. I think that if it doesn't change. Like, I think if you unchain River Scald, nobody's going to start a Hydra against you when you've got River Scalds in your deck, right? If you unchained it, you're just not going to start.
Right, and River Scald is a good example of a card that makes closed deck kind of dumb. It made open deck dumb too, but like think about River Scald as a card where I go into a field of closed deck tournament and there's just a ton of unknowns. Well, I can put this River Scald in my first five.
It's always going to be good.
I don't care what the hell you do.
Right.
It's going to be insane every time I play it.
Absolutely.
So and it's not a proactive card. but it fits that same kind of thing you were talking about, where like it makes the first fives easy.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in closed deck, I think a lot of the tension of the game comes from the first fives being hard.
Yeah. I mean, like if you play River Scald with, and you just go, I'm going to River Scald Flash Archer, and no matter what, I'm going to kill whatever is your biggest threat on the board, even if the Flash Archer is overkill, and I still leave a 2/2 behind, like, in a closed deck, that's always going to be good, right? Always. It doesn't matter whether you pitched a 2-cost card, a 3-cost card, or 4-cost card to kill something. It's all about killing something. You didn't intend to play the Flash Archer. The Flash Archer just represents kill spell, right? So...
Right, and I mean, that's the extreme example, right? Like...
Yeah, but that's what was happening.
Right, because knights were extremely prevalent. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's... I don't think that River Scald being chained is good, because I love River Scald.
Me too.
I do think that it's good for the game, probably, because it's so easy to first five, and you know it's always going to be great, even if you don't kill something with it. Like, it's like makes the first five just one card less interesting, like 20% less interesting.
What I find, I think, if we were talking about a redesigned Scald, and we could go down a pretty deep path here, but like redesigned Scald and I like Prepare for Scald and Jericho if you're going to do it, but it's an expensive
Scald. As you start like adding extra dice,
yeah, it's an expensive Scald.
Then the Scald gets a lot worse.
But what I was going to say here is, Scald, like, I think Scald could be redesigned and unchained, and the redesigned version of it, to your point, Cam says Scald should have been an exhaust side action ability. I agree. I think what it should be is spend 2 sympathy die, draw a card, and then as an exhaustion, you can exhaust, discard a card from your hand, and deal the damage. And I think it'd be good. It'd still be very good, but it would be way less broken, right?
I don't know about way less. It would be. I mean, it would be worse.
I feel like Scald
would still be the best card in the game.
I feel like Scald is going to come down in value just because of Fate Reflection.
Yeah, Fate Reflection made it worse. I mean, the version that you said where it comes into play exhausted, it's still the best unit in the game. Like, because it comes into play, it kills a guy.
No.
And then they have to spend dice on it. But I mean, I like the old, because Scald is a card that was already redesigned.
Right.
It was not the same at 1.0.
Right.
It was much weaker in 1.0, but it was still cool. It was still playable.
Sure.
I mean, saying something was playable in 1.0, I guess, is like not very true because of the nature of how 1.0 games work.
So the old River Scald was 3 dice.
When you draw a card, it lightning bolted something.
When you draw 1 or more cards during your turn, you may place 1 exhaustion token on this unit to place a number of wound tokens equal to this unit's attack value on target unit. So you draw a card, exhaust it, and do 3. Yeah, it's a 3/2 for 3 dice.
It's a 3/3 recover 2.
3/3 recover 2. That's right. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, I think that this card in 1.5 would be just fine.
I agree. I do agree. This card it'd be good, but it's not like super insanely overpowered.
Right. It's a knight.
Yeah, but it's a knight you don't really want to attack with because you have to exhaust it in order to do the damage. Right. So
right.
Really,
it's kind of like a Blood Archer or something where like it's one of the ones that wants to sit there and then if you don't have a good use for the shoot 'em up, then you get to attack for 3 with it.
Right. That makes the skill cap on the card harder, more difficult.
And it's not nearly as good. And it's probably worse than all the knights that exist right now. But it's still cool, and it's like an ability that could exist in this game because you play it and like you have the option, I guess, to like do a side action. I guess the easiest one would be horsepower.
Sure.
But if you have like I don't know, what else draws a card as a side action? Oh my god, how sweet would it be if you like went River Scalded and concentrated?
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure.
Oh
yeah,
my 2 favorite things.
That's probably pretty broken.
It's not broken.
Yeah, but it's pretty good.
You spend 4 dice to make a tapped 3/3 and 3 one of their guys.
Yeah,
like and fix a dice of your own. But in general, like, I mean, this is like a card that exists. River Scald exists. And if there is ever any talk of there being an additional like remake kit for the other cards in the base set,
Right.
they're not going to remake Scald again.
No.
Because it was already remade once.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, let's wrap up for tonight, Neil. Yeah. We're past time. I'm curious whether or not we could get an efficient Sembali ally that doesn't require knights. I mean, I think you can play knights in Sembali, and you should play knights in Sembali. But I'm wondering about some of these 2-cost allies in Sembali with hunting weapons, and I know that Wave says Rosefire Dancers. Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering about it from a purified perspective and some efficiency. And I mean, you can play River Skulls really easily in that sort of thing.
Purify is not good with alterations.
No,
in general,
no.
But
you don't want to purify something that's been altered at all.
Right.
No. But you definitely can do it with other things. I really liked your deck tonight, Waves. I thought that was kind of a neat take on it with the mount. Mounts are just tricky, and
yeah, like I was saying, like I like a lot of the cards in that deck. It's just the way that your deck is built. It essentially, like, there are multiple facets of your deck that require an ally in play, and that because of that, it's overloaded.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to be on like small unit value conjurations, like Lightbringer.
You just don't have enough. There's just not enough ally bodies, even at 1 dice, that you can draw them all and do all of the ally things you want to do.
Yeah, I agree. You're going to have to be on like Butterfly. I think Butterfly Monk's probably pretty good in Sembali as a protection unit and also just to keep her life total up while setting up.
Butterfly Monk obviously has become a meta staple.
Yeah,
like it's not in every deck, but it's definitely in a lot of decks.
So I can see Sembali, and whether or not you run Royal Charm into that 4 spell board, because obviously with 5 battlefield, you're not going to run like a 4-book Sembali. But I think like Lightbringer, Butterfly Monk, maybe Sally Monk, and then like, I don't know, you can make your 5th card flex however you want, I guess, or your 4th card flex. It can be a Royal Charm. Royal Charm was super awkward with side action. Yeah, because right, you can't gift and charm for sure. But I actually think the best use of wings is not to untap a unit and get in with like Bad Herald. I think it's actually to protect the unit from exhaustion removal that could be present and against illusion. But I guess in some cases you might actually find yourself better off to untap the unit and attack immediately. And then yes, at that point you have to be on accelerate to do that, and anytime you have to do that, it's going to be really inconsistent. The
guarded thing is really big on wings.
I agree.
Like obviously attacking twice is like the biggest thing, but getting to like attack with I assume a knight, because you're not really doing any better than that.
Right.
And then
like I think Flute Mage and Sembali feels like it might be pretty good, like with a knight.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Because as it's kind of like the Echo thing where you have this core unit that you want to attack a bunch of times, and playing 1 knight and like 3 untaps is not as good as 2 knights and 2 untaps, because if they have a single fester, then you're like, your whole turn is turned off, not just your 1 guy.
Yeah, I mean, I like Frostfang a lot, Waves. I really do. I mean, Frostfang is good against a lot of things in the meta, but there are a lot of 2-attack units now. And Frostfang feels pretty bad into 2-attack units. And I know they're not like on board to attack, like Cobra isn't on board to attack, but there are so many times that people just inflame Cobra. And you end up...
The problem with Frostfang, I think, is like it can't be your core guy.
No.
Because Aerodel and Odette exist.
Yep.
And that's the reason.
But like, I could see getting some value out of Stormwind Sniper. I mean I
like Sniper. You essentially have to have an alteration or a Sembali or something. You don't have to have all the things, but like.
See, I think I'd probably be on like Master Vampire, Grave Knight, and I just run the Holy Trinity of Knights, like Master Vampire, Grave Knight, and either Hammer Knight or Sonic, whichever one. And then I'd probably be on a bunch of 2-cost allies like River Skulls from there, and maybe I'd consider Shared Sorrow in the deck just to recur Knight. Like pitch a Knight for damage, recur Knight, or you pitch another 2-cost to recur back a River Skull, which is also not a bad place to be. Or you can pitch a 1 to get a Purify back if that has value for you as well. mean, there's some reasons I kind of like Shared Sorrow in the deck for a recursion piece. But you kind of have to play it like Odette, right? She's like, Odette has 5 battlefield, and so you have to make sure that those 5 battlefield slots are valuable. You can have maybe 1 unit on board that is not good.
Well, Sembali makes that up with wings, right? Like, you can have one good unit and then some other support dudes.
For sure.
And use the one good unit twice. Like, that's the...
I completely agree, but I think, I mean, one of the things that I ran into when I played Odette a lot was, like, 2 Gilders is really bad in Odette's battlefield. Right? Like, that second Gilder, it has a huge impact on... And Sembali kind of... I mean, Enter the Fray allows you to have, essentially, extra 2 attack guy, right? So, I think if I was building Sembali, I'd probably build it very similar to the way I would build an Odette list, kind of. And
yeah, I mean, I have to disagree with that. Like, I think it'd be very different, just because like the Odette list is always like a card advantage list, and you're just trying to like play efficiently. And the Sembali list is like a combo list where you need to put a bunch of effort into your one guy, or else you're playing a blank Phoenixborn because your loyalty card isn't good enough to make up that difference.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see. I mean, it's probably has to be a night deck, and you probably have to play Golden Veil and Fate Reflection. Would be my thoughts. Just to put extra protection into.
Right. I mean, all the core 3 dice unit decks have to have some number of those like protected reactions.
Just Cam says all Vicky all the time. Cam, I'm holding out, man. You win with Vicky, and I will promote you. Like, I think you're already VIP, so I can't give you any higher status than that. Sorry, dude. I'll just give you like a super private like Discord server that's just for you to talk about Vicky.
I wish I could post my picture from today into the chat right now.
Send it to me. I'll post it.
It's in Slack.
Oh yeah, you're right. You just sent it to me in Slack. Hold on. Neil is building memes today.
I sent it to German and I was like, hey, can you make this but like this except but good? And he's like, no, this is already perfect.
He's not wrong. Hold on. There y'all go. Oh, I gotta flip the scene. I don't know why you want to change it. It is perfect.
The stupid glasses, so man. I was trying to find a Bitmoji of my face that had the like the oh my god face, and the only one was like with the stupid opera glasses.
That's so sweet.
And
the sad Vicky.
I haven't laughed as hard as I laughed at myself. Like when I just used my stupid like Microsoft Paint lasso to grab her mouth and turn the like smile upside down so she looks bad.
Clue says amazing. So we got Chain Vicky from Ashes 1.0 and Reborn Vicky, who's sad as can be.
Yeah, new Vicky sucks.
Yeah,
1.0 Vicky was great.
Yep. So, all right. Well, let's wrap up for the night on the end of this show with a little MAME action. Yeah, Waves. I prefer the Pizza Spirit too. I think it's pretty good. You saw that one, right? Where there's like Mirror Spirit with a pizza box.
I made that, dude.
Oh, did you make that? I didn't know. Yeah. You made that. Okay. Man, you make all these memes. I never know when you're actually doing something like that. So, I also like the Crunchberry All Creepers.
Yeah, Oops All Creepers.
Oops All Creepers Crunchberry cereal box. 10 Power Dice says laugh out loud. Poor Vicky. Yeah. I mean, look, there's got to be somebody that's bad. So it might as well be Vicky.
One of them has to be the worst. I will say I don't think they have to be the worst by as wide a margin as Vicky is, but
look,
somebody does have to be the worst.
We need a Carl or a Matt or somebody to stand up in one of these tournaments and like play a Vicky
even they know. Like
I know they know. That's why they don't do it. But like,
well, yeah, it's just good point. Good argument.
I'm just saying, because if anybody could actually get them into a top cut, it would be one of those guys, right?
10 Power Dice has it exactly right. She was punished for being OP in 1.0.
For sure. Yeah. Without a doubt. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute blast. We'll be back Tuesday with more Shufflebus action. Obviously, I think we miss, because tomorrow night is tomorrow night is the end of round 4. And then we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, Tuesday night is the last night of round 5.
Yeah.
So
please sign up for stream games if you can.
Yes.
It's
it's a huge help. And then we will finish.
And we really appreciate you guys that sent us the recordings.
Yes.
But the live games are so much more fun.
Yeah. I mean, I love having any sort of tournament coverage that we can provide you with. So, I mean, it's great that people do that. But yeah, if you can sign up to make a stream time and play your game on stream, we'd love to have that. And we've got openings for Tuesday night. So, once you see the pairings go up Friday, I know everybody's going to want to crank out their Shufflebus round 5 matches over the weekend. That's the easy time to do it. But if you can make the 9th work, please do. We need coverage and need games for that. So it'd be super awesome. We will wrap Swiss next Saturday. We're almost a week away from the end of Swiss, for this, which is crazy. And then we're going to be on a whirlwind dash to try to get all the way through to finals before Thanksgiving. If not, we'll push past Thanksgiving and finish up finals in the first part of December. So we'll see how that all goes. But I am going on vacation tomorrow for 4 days. So be back in time to stream Tuesday, which is great. Providing that the weather doesn't strand me in Denver on the way home. And then we'll be good for after Thanksgiving. I'm gone for a few days as well. So hopefully we can get all this done before Thanksgiving, and then we can just have some casual streams to go into the end of the year. So, all right. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for spending time with us tonight. We had a lot of fun chatting with you all about your decks and your games, and looking forward to seeing more of this action. So have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care. Good night.